She can.
Oh, I mean, if she wants to,
I'm gonna text her.
at least to chat. Oh man, we got to mess with this. Remember, there's a delay.
Yeah. You can't have it play in the background at the same time.
So I got to mute this motherfucker. Oh, the lighting just looks terrible.
But I think you look great. I
It
haven't even
doesn't,
gotten a
it
chance to
doesn't,
look at you yet because I've been so into myself.
it doesn't look like that on YouTube though. Hmm. Okay, I feel like it's evening out a little bit. I'm gonna get like a whole new setup soon, I think.
I need new light that way for sure instead of this way. But I don't know. I feel like it's pretty close to what I really look like.
Everyone, while we wait for some people to get in here, we would love for you to chat with us, ask us some questions, tell us some thoughts. Monica's the first one in the chat telling us, hey, cuties. Love you. Love you so much.
Monica, not Monica Lewinsky from the Bill Clinton
Monica
fame.
Lewinsky. Okay. Let's wait like a couple minutes, guys.
Before we talk about Queen stuff.
Before we get like balls deep into the monarchy.
What are we going to talk about while we kill time?
I don't know. Ask us a question, peeps. Something funny. Can you see us? Can you hear us? How does everything look? My lighting looks great here.
I think you look great.
It doesn't look good on YouTube.
I don't understand how it looks different.
Remember, no real names, Cheney. This is a fucking
for both of us.
I can't edit this 2 weeks from now.
For both of us. I'm going to talk slow when it comes to real life people.
I don't think we'll talk that much real life stuff. No,
well,
no
I like how we're going to talk about the queen and stuff, but we're like, no real life stuff.
No real life stuff at all. Okay. They can hear and see us. We got some Miami, Florida people in the place.
Oh,
we got 47 people here.
Miami.
About time to fucking go. Do I pop this out? I can.
Did you see what Nicki Minaj tweeted out?
No, what did she tweet?
Rest in peace, queen.
Why is that funny to you?
Because she could have just wrote it about anyone, just like R.I.P.
like
queen.
Yeah. Queen.
Yeah, it just seems like what she'd call anyone she hung out with. R.I.P. queen.
I'm about to like fuck my whole thing up. Hold on. Is this too close? Are we getting too intimate? I don't know that that's possible.
We're not any closer.
Okay. Well, friends, shall we? Maybe 2 more minutes?
Yeah. What else do you want
to? Let's catch up. What have we done lately? See, there goes my.
Well, what did you watch any telly last night?
I'm watching something called The Rain on Netflix. What I think is most interesting is I get all these show recommendations and it's like 98%, 99%. And I click on them and they're all foreign. Like there's so many foreign, we like Dark, Rain, all these different things that they seem to be acquiring internationally, but are talking about all the same things that we like. I watch things with subtitles anyway, so it's okay, but the English dubbed over is just always.
Do you find it harder to watch something with subtitles in a scribe world of always being on our phones?
I personally love subtitles. If I could have subtitles on like in real life, that would be great.
It would be great if it just
it'd be fucking great, you know. Just a little here over on the side.
Like pop-up video.
Pop-up video. It was the best shit ever.
I think there could be a show like that now that was just about anything. Like they could put anything. They could put any movie, and I would watch it like pop up video where it was like a breakdown.
Did you ever watch like the music channels where you used to be able to like text into it and the text would appear on the screen?
Yes, that was like
Those are the shit. Like, let me DJ a TV station, and like just put little like bits of conspiracy at the bottom.
Don't you think that's kind of if we do something next, we'll have texts and calls and stuff.
For sure. Okay, I'm gonna check. I feel like my lighting still sucks, but oh well. Such is life. Such is life when you have no idea what you're doing. Maybe it's just the astigmatism in my eyes,
Well, now you look like astigmatism. Just for like you blur something happened and you blurred. You look like a star child.
I'm an indigo child. Okay. Fuck it. Who cares?
Yeah, look at my background. It's so crazy.
Oh, I forget that you have Nikki's tit like right there. Like you could be like poking it all the time.
Yeah, so it looks almost like like when I first came on camera, I forgot that she was right here. So I was like, oh, I thought I was like
Hey,
me and you sitting like, how did you do that? Like you're all green screened.
I see it with like astigmatism eyes all the time. What about you?
I have the best vision.
Really?
Amazing vision. Amazing. Like I can see tiny, tiny words from really, really far away. I wear glasses all the time, but they're fake.
Ooh, I just undid myself in a way, I think. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Shall we?
Does our sound even? I always feel like I'm louder than you.
Hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. They said our sound sounds great.
Okay, perfect. I have to work at keeping my mouth further away from my mic. Usually I'll lay up in it and see how loud.
I think it sounds better that way. Okay. Or you're just doing that with me.
No, that's usually how I talk, all up in my mic. And I always feel like I'm so much closer than everybody else.
The fanciest fucking mic in the world, and it just doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. So
because you don't have it on studio, or you probably have it on studio setting instead of just you setting. So it picks up your room instead of just, I have mine localized. So when I talk close to it, you can really hear it.
We will have to work on that later. Smile. Okay. I'm going to post that. But until then, are you ready, my friend?
It is 9/8. I had a nap.
I took my vitamins. I had a nap.
I had to lay out in the sun and do yoga. Mm-hmm. We are ready.
Okay.
9/8.
Welcome back. It's episode 94. This is a live podcast. It's my Maria 777. I'm here with Project Cheney, and this is an emergency press conference because ding dong, the witch is dead. Hi, Cheney. How are you?
Great. Well, we've known the witch is dead, but they announced it to us finally today.
Right. And if you don't know, if you're listening to this in the future, it is September 8th, 2022. Queen Elizabeth supposedly died today. I would argue that she has been on ice for some time, a la Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And for some reason, dun, 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 that we will discuss tonight, we got to figure out why September 8th. What do you think? Where do we begin?
September 8th?
I want you to do the monologue that you sent me as an audio message earlier,
where I was all manic and I told you everything about 1776. What one?
Like, I almost feel like I need to play it now.
Oh my gosh.
Am I allowed to do that?
I'm in my head. I'm like, sure, play it. But in my head, I'm like, oh my God, please don't say anything weird. Please don't say anything.
It's not weird. Okay. Can I play it?
Yes.
I was going to say, we can edit this out, but we show can't, Shouty.
I'm like, please don't say anything. Like, look how blushy I am.
You're like a tomato. Okay, here we go.
If there was a Witch Academy Awards, I would accept an award right now. Like I would get on stage and I would almost cry, and I would just like to thank the witches in my coven for making this day possible. I've never been more excited since we killed Betty White. Killing the queen has been a long time coming. I am looking forward to all hoisting the casket above our head and dancing out together. You love me. You really love me. I'm saying that to the universe. Like Sally Fields with a Z, because on this timeline, I will fucking just kill that Bo Sally Fields, and then I rename her with a Z. Z Unit.
What a weirdo. I forgot I did that today. I loved it. I literally texted you as soon as I listened to it. I need you to repeat that verbatim tonight. I'm sorry I put you on the spot like that.
It made me sweat.
I know I'm sweating too a little bit.
I'm like, what? Because I'm like, it's like, God knows what voicemail you saved. And whatever you
I save all of them. I literally have every single voicemail that's ever transpired between us.
Oh shit.
I need to tell everyone this. This is actually a PSA. Okay. If you have an iPhone, audio messages, like the normal baseline setting is you listen to it and then it disappears. Well, you can toggle that setting and you can do it so that everything saves. Well, I did that once, and I was talking to fucking Morgan Stanley at the time, and it kept saying, Morgan Stanley has saved your audio message. Morgan Stanley has saved your audio message. And I was just like I was dropping a lot of
feeling
truth.
yourself.
I was dropping a lot of truths on him at the time. So I was like, God, he's really into me. He's really into the things I'm saying. And it's no, if you have the setting where you save all of your audio messages, then every time you listen, it says, Maria has saved this audio message. And I just, that was like a knife in the heart moment to myself. Like I just turned the knife that I was already holding into my own heart, you know?
Because you guys, if you follow my Maria, you know that she'll just put anything on her story. So something that you just text her randomly might end up in her story. And all of a sudden you're like, oh shit. I wasn't planning for that being in there. So sometimes I just randomly text her off record, which means don't put it in your story. So when it was always like, my Maria saving your audio message, my Maria saving your audio message, my Maria save, I was like, this shill is just going to out me.
I am your handler.
Yeah, I'm like the CIA agent.
Okay. Anyways, just don't think a guy's into you because he's not saving your audio messages.
Or it doesn't mean your friend's a CIA agent.
Correct.
Either one of those things.
TikTok, let's go. Okay. Anyways, I don't even know where to begin because, okay, first off, you and I have been thinking that this bitch has been dead for a long time, right?
Long time. We put her in a spell and killed her as a blood sacrifice.
I was actually talking about her, this Shani and I, because something came out about her, and I had posted her to my story this morning, and it was when Buckingham Palace was announcing that she was sick, and like some of the things had been canceled for the next X number of days.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were on the phone earlier today. I was like, I'm gonna kill the queen today so that I get some love in the full moon this week.
Well, start it earlier in the week, because two weird things I think happened to us earlier in the week. And this is just where I think quantumly, it's really not because maybe we killed the queen, but in the real thing, I think we're just all coming to the singularity of knowing this moment was going to happen in this kind of progression. So we kill Betty White first, and then we kill the queen. So earlier in this week, for some reason, I was, there's a couple new apps out, and they're AI art apps. So you can put in different phrases into the computer, and the computer makes art. So I went on one of these apps and I put in like kill the queen or something, and they put up this really rad art piece. I put it on my Instagram. And then that same day that I sent that to you, you found Big Ben on the ground.
Damn it. I didn't even bring it in here. I'm not going to get up because I don't want everyone to see me in my sweatpants right now. But if you watch my stories, it was really ironic because I had just done this like series of stories and I was talking about how growing up, I always wanted to collect something. Like everyone collected things. And I was here like wanting to collect, but I didn't have anything that like I desired to collect. And as I got older, I watched that one episode of Sex and the City with Burger in it.
It kind of, hers is a version that kind of
Okay.
looks like this,
Mine looks exactly like Big Ben.
but hers
what
looks
it all
just like
boils
the
down.
face of Big Ben, but it's like just for no reason, a clock face that
But
she
the
found.
weird thing is that I just talked about how I find Legos, and I have found now like 3 pieces of Legos, and I keep them together, and like I
That's
imagine
dope.
this like I'm just gonna like build something with it one day. And so I had found a Lego piece like literally the day before, and then I was walking Peyton in my apartment complex, and I found this Big Ben thing, and it's like that big, like maybe the size of a quarter or a $50, and it's like a pendant, like you would wear it on something, and it's the face, and it says one. It's like either 148 or 149. And when I tell you, when I first looked at it and I thought it might say 147, I was about to just be like,
Turn into her
done.
light body.
Just
She
fucking
almost
done.
turned
Like
she almost turned into her light body and went blind.
5D ascension, like straight on up.
She's like, tell everyone I said bye. Isn't this
But
weird? Mine's a brooch. Mine has a pin on it too.
ooh,
Isn't
all
that
I was about
weird?
to say is I found Big Ben on Sunday, and that's just seems to be now an interesting little like breadcrumb considering what has occurred today.
So for months and months and months, like just personally, anytime we have a funny spell just to make us laugh and random things, we just kill the queen. Like it's for over a year, at
It's
least.
just like something we say silly to, like we're gonna kill the queen today.
Yeah, or sometimes with the coven, we actually are like, ha ha ha, let's kill the queen. And then we do memes and we get dressed up for it and we kill the queen. We do like meme magic. If we want other stuff to happen, sometimes you have to do a sacrifice. So such a big sacrifice like the queen, you can do so much magic with killing the queen. So we always just laugh about it, which we think laughing to tears is actually high magic. It's salty. So it's like if you can cry in a spell or laugh yourself to tears in a spell. So anytime we would kill the queen, we'd always laugh. And yeah, today when she died, I have never received so many texts before. Like it might as well have been like if the queen was my actual mother. That's how many texts I received, except instead of being sad, everybody was so happy. Even people that don't believe in magic believed in this.
So like let's talk about the queen. Like one of the reasons that you and I, multiple reasons, I guess I would say, one of the reasons we have doubted things for so long is the CGI of it all. And as I was like preparing for our podcast today, I completely forgot. Let me find this picture. Back in, damn it, I don't know the date, but I guess it was the Jubilee. So this would have been June.
The Queen's Jubilee with the TV and the chariot.
Do you remember the hologram chariot?
Mm-hmm.
So
it wasn't even good. They just put a TV on the inside of the window.
Well, no, they literally projected a hologram through the streets of London, and then they filmed it. And these stupid motherfuckers were literally waving at a hologram.
Isn't there a Tom Hanks movie called Hologram for the King?
I don't know.
Everything goes back to Tom Hanks, but it just is. I believe you would kill the queen and keep her body on ice. The big politics of this to me, just in the 3D, is we talk about this all the time. We're from the timeline that Prince Charles could never be the king.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We need to talk about that right now.
Okay. Right now.
Right now.
So right now,
I have a memory. I can't tell you where the memory came from. I can't tell you what it's based in. But for my entire existence, Charles could never become king.
Ever.
Agree or disagree?
Agree. He can never be the king. And I'll tell you why he can't be the king.
Tell me why.
Because Queen Elizabeth's father wasn't supposed to be the king.
Correct.
He was just supposed to be a prince his whole life.
He was a second born.
Mm-hmm, and his older brother was the king. The older brother knew he could no longer be the king if he got a divorce. He was going to marry a divorced lady and chose love over crown. So his
And
older
he had to abdicate because of that.
he had to totally step down. And I think to me, something has to do with the Pope. There's still like a big Holy See thing mixed
Back to
in
like
with
Henry
the
the
crown.
fucking eighth, like back to the Tudor dynasty.
Back to the whole entire England and the church are always together. So Queen of England, her father was never supposed to be the king. And a really other weird thing that I keep pressing on everybody is we've never seen a queen or king die in our lifetimes. Our parents have never seen a king or queen die in our lifetimes of a royal of this status. Like there might have been some like random Monaco or some royal in the House of Saud, but of an actual queen, like one of the chess pieces, because her father never died on the throne. He actually stepped down and gave it to a young Elizabeth before he died because
She was 25.
Dude. And even on her wedding day, her husband had to kneel to her. And she is
bend the fucking
the
knee.
sovereign. So when people even use the word sovereignty, like they want to call themselves the sovereign, to me, there's some weird spell with that word that it isn't what we think it is. Like she is the sovereign, and I would say that is as free as Britney Spears under conservatorship. Like, what is different about the Queen and Britney?
Agreed. Well, I mean, she might be more of an architect rather than like a chess piece, but
I would say not even that, because I would say that she had to shake hands with Winston Churchill, and then they have an agreement that the only way, because the Queen of England's just German. That's why I thought it would be more clever that she dies on 9/9, because it'd be like 9/9. It'd be like so clever of them, which that is kind of what makes me think White Hat's in control, because she died on 9/8 instead, which is Virgin Mary's birthday. But Princess Diana is the only rightful heir to England. Her womb is the only rightful heir to England. So she's a Spencer.
Can you explain that?
So the Churchill Spencer family is people say that the Princess Diana family that can go all the way back to King Henry VIII, or not King Henry VIII, King Arthur. So go all the way back to King Arthur. So the Churchill Spencer family is actually Winston Churchill. And so Diana Spencer, her father was like really the royal ass wiper. Like that was like his job. He like took care of the king shit. So he had like, and it's a really high up position to take care of like the royals, shit, like literal shit. So her womb is the rightful heir. The Saxon Bouts, Malbottens, whatever the real Windsor name is, they're all German lineage. So not until Diana's womb, because the Queen and Winston Churchill shake hands, like in the back end, they have this huge relationship for like 50 years in the back end. So Diana, she's actually the second Spencer sister. Charles was with the first one first, and then she steps aside. Diana comes in. She's young. She's 14 when her and Charles meet. He's 25 when they start getting together. It's like an Elvis thing. They're like such huge age difference. It's like Elvis, Lisa Marie. So she comes in. So William is the very first heir that the Windsors have ever had to England. That's an actual bloodline that relates back because they're German. So killing Diana, if she goes back to King Arthur, some people think King Arthur was protecting the Christ bloodline, which you get into the whole Da Vinci codes of it all. So killing Diana, if the queen really did that, if the evil they kill Diana, then kind of really great payback would be to kill the queen on Virgin Mary's birthday, which would be where that Christ bloodline would start. So
that's
just conspiracy on top of conspiracy on top of conspiracy.
Like within conspiracy. I wanted to state this because I had somebody send me King Charles, I guess is what he'll go by now.
King Charles III.
King Charles III put out some sort of like press statement today.
Because King Charles II's Charles Barkley. That's not real.
But it had said something about like the queen of the Commonwealth and other realms, and people had messaged me and been like, oh my god, realms, like wink wink nudge nudge, what does that mean? And I wanted to note for the record that she is the queen of the United Kingdom and the other Commonwealth realms, which include Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Jamaica,
Jamaica,
the Bahamas, Papua
parts
New
of Africa.
Guinea, the Solomon Islands, Tuvalu, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Belize, Antigua and Barbuda, and St. Kitts. And there's 14 different realms under her belt, including Australia and Canada. But it's just, I mean, the monarchy in general is still so interesting to me that it exists. And I think we sometimes give them a little too much credence. And like the same way that I had just said to you, like maybe she's a higher up architect, when we should really evaluate them on the same plane that we evaluate Trump, at least for me, Trump, Biden, and all these people, that they're just actors within the movie. But I eventually, we don't have to do it now, but I'd like to take this eventually into like a Vril discussion and like an altered carbon, the 100.
I want
like,
you to for a minute. I've heard you say the Vril Queen a few times now, and I want you to explain what that means.
Okay, let's keep going. Let me pull up my
Okay.
Vril thing and then I'll come back and I'll say it. Let's see. So just like some things. The Queen was born on April 21st, 1926, which I think is interesting that like the whole Earth Day discussion is like a Mandela thing for me. Earth Day was always 420.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either like 421 or 422. So she's born on Earth Day now. Obviously everyone is posting about this, but go ahead.
Prince died on April 21st too. On the actual singer Prince died on April 21st, and people thought that was like a sacrifice for the Queen's birthday, as you kill a prince.
Now, Q first posted on October 28th, 2017. So from then until today,
what's Q? I'm just kidding.
We can get there in a second. 1,776 days have elapsed.
I just turn into my light body and blow away. Let freedom
Q
ring.
is still a psyop. I still think that Tyler, the artificial intelligence from the future, is Q. We agree that like Queenie has been on ice for some time. It's mathematically, statistically not impossible, but improbable. I don't know. It's just
where how many coincidences?
Connected. Right. There's no such thing as coincidences. But let me be the devil's advocate immediately and go back to like the Trump Q versus Hillary psyop that I think is coming for 2024, and a 1776 fucking minute breadcrumb that this is would feed us for another fucking 90 days.
But it's not 1778. It's not 1763.
No, I'm just saying like it's all intentional, but it might be for you and I just to continue to have this discussion.
Well, it's interesting that if there wasn't True Social, we would not know any side of Donald Trump, but like we would not have any of that right now. It would just be the media telling us. So we were supposed to still be locked in our houses. There's nothing anyone can say to convince me otherwise. Like if the New World Order was going to plan, we'd all still be locked in our houses waiting for the 6th vaccine. And so imagine all that. We might not even be waiting for the first vaccine yet. We might just all be masked up and taking knees and chanting no justice, no peace. So imagine all this stuff happening. And now we're all sitting there and like the Queen died. Everybody's been watching the royals, every single thing. There's documentaries on Princess Diana. There's a movie called The Spencer. Like they've done nothing but push the Downton Abbey. Here you go. Like they've brainwashed
the crown.
Dude, it's like the last 2 or 3 years of us being in lockdown has been to rejuvenate this royalty thing in us. And this is so off. But one of the things that I would repeat over and over again, going back through my pictures, is being in January 6th that day. It was such a movie setup. Like the whole thing was a movie set up in just DC. All the posters it was like a truck got shipped in and it was like, here's this Trump stuff, but all the posters you could buy were all like God Save the Queen posters. They were all monarchy posters. There wasn't anything with Biden on it. There wasn't anything with Kamala or Hillary. It was all anti-queen stuff. And which I always, even in my head that day walking the streets, I was like, this is so weird. It's like, let's finish the revolution, like weird stuff like that, that I'm like, I don't know one person here that gives two shits about the queen, or like
Yeah, who
we're
the
here to
fuck cares
take down
about
the
the
queen.
UK?
Yeah, it was such a weird part of it. I'm actually going to post two of those later because I took two pictures of these posters walking down the street being like, what is this? I wish I almost would have bought them, but now knowing what I know, if I would have gone up and been like, how much for a poster, they would have looked at me like, $5,000 or 5 cents, because they didn't know what to tell me any of the prices, like because they weren't
Because it
supposed to
wasn't
be
about
selling
that. It
anything.
wasn't part of the. They're
Yeah,
not
they were like,
real.
oh, you want this chair, you want this pineapple, this is for craft services, $50. So
Another weird numbers. Since the Queen declared a pandemic in the United Kingdom, 911 days have elapsed. So in anticipation of 9/11, the obviously today 9 plus 8 is 17, which is a Q reference. But I don't know. I saw this video once and I don't know where I saw it and I didn't save it, but it suggested that certain days of the year hold certain energy always, and that in you and I sometimes talk about how like I don't believe in free will. I believe in like anchors. Certain anchors are meant to happen, and what happens between the anchors might be free will. And so like
you
this
get
video,
you believe in Mario Kart.
yeah.
We get free will around the track, but every time the flag, we have to be at that point at that time.
Exactly. So this video suggested like there are certain days of certain years where like the universe is going to like compel the energy to do something. Like something is going to happen that day. Like 9/11 2001 was one of those energetic days. Like something was bound to happen, whether it was like this positive thing or negative thing was up to like the people here and the manipulation of that energy. And so if you think of like 9/11 as like always some sort of energetic portal, then things like this seem like a loosh event to me, because now not people like you and me, but all the like fucking regular commoners, if you will, are going to talk about this for 10 days, talk about this for 2 months. It's like Kobe all over again. Like the world is mourning, but it's all this energy, it's all this emotion. And I don't know. I think you can make a connection out of anything numerically. So like 1776 and 911 days, I don't particularly care about, but in anticipation of like 9/11, Mercury retrograde, the full moon on Saturday, there's a reason why she was sacrificed today, even though I think she's already dead, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And even the 10 days of darkness, it's like so many people think of a birth date, but a conception date is just as important. It's like we're all like, what day did the queen die? What day did the queen die? But now I have Operation London Bridge, which is an actual 10 days of mourning. So we have this 10 days of darkness, which is another very big Q thing. That no matter where you're at on the planet under any of the queen's realms or supporting nations, they're flying their flags all at half mast, that they set exactly 10 minutes of the time that they all lowered it. Even the White House is flying at half mast, which feels off to me that we're flying our
I was
capital.
wondering that earlier. So first off, okay, I'll come back to this, but I would like you to talk about, I just lost my train of thought. Operation, what's it called? London Bridge.
London Bridge.
Can you discuss that? Do you want me to Google it and discuss
Yeah,
it?
you might be able to have more details, but after the queen's death, the 10 days immediately following, like her body gets prepped one day. For 5 days, her body lays in this certain room that people can come in. It's like a specific room in the castle. The prince or the king, he becomes the king, but he also has certain ritual that he has to go through in this 10 days. And it's like all of it is so magic and so detailed and so, if you were to believe like you were talking about earlier with like the Vril idea of taking energies and almost I think a great movie of this representation is Hereditary, where they do ritual to bring an old ancient king or queen or royal, and then they always get a fresh body by doing this certain amount of ritual over them, which some people could say the Masons did it, or this would probably be the more likely way you'd time travel would be to just walk into somebody else's body. um, so even the 10 days leading up from King Charles, and even them saying long live the king and God save the king, was very off and very different in my head, because our whole lives we've always heard queen, 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 queen. So yeah, the 10 days of darkness, London Bridge, if you found it.
Okay, here we go. So this is called Operation London Bridge. And it says the London Bridge plans were leaked to Politico last fall. Day 0, the royal household notifies the public of the Queen's death. Prince Charles immediately succeeds to the throne. He is known as King Charles III. His wife Camilla becomes the Queen Consort. Flags fly at half mast. He issues a statement. UK Prime Minister Liz issues a statement. Day 1, he returns to London. The Accession Council, a gathering traditionally held at St. James Palace, meets usually within 24 hours of a death. It formally declares her death and formally declares the king's accession to the throne. In week 1, Elizabeth's body is brought back to Buckingham Palace in London. A ceremonial procession carries her coffin to Westminster Abbey. She lies in state at Westminster Hall for 3 days, during which the public can visit for 23 hours of each day. And then, let's see, during this time, Charles will travel to Scotland, North Ireland, and Wales and visit the leaders there. On the 10th day, a state funeral service is held at Westminster Abbey. God, I can't fucking talk today. Triggering an observance of 2 minutes of silence in the United Kingdom. So this whole thing she started creating when she ascended to the throne. So like, why 2 minutes of silence? Like, this is all, like you were saying, magic to me. There's a final service at St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. Prince Philip again died in April of 2021. So I
And
also
this is also Operation Unicorn, right? Because she's in Scotland instead of Westminster Abbey. She's not in England. So there's this whole other weird thing when we killed the queen, because we have a Scottish witch in the coven. We Operation Unicorned her specifically, which I do think is so random in quantum and timeline that we didn't London Bridge her. We unicorned her. So
okay. Because the Queen died at her estate in Scotland, a contingency plan dubbed Operation Unicorn has kicked into gear. Under this plan, the Queen's body will remain in Scotland for a number of days, according to the Press Association, before then being transported to London. Then the rest of the plans under Operation London Bridge will continue. And so what? Fucking Operation Unicorn is just like her fucking travel plans from Scotland to the UK.
Her dead body travel plans.
Like, did we need to fucking call that an operation?
But some of the weird things, like they already planned ahead of time that they like the anticipation that she might die there, that it was already in the plans because it already happened to a different royal before her. But also a Q thing I wanted to ask you about. She's at the Scottish castle. She's going to go back to her castle for the 10 days. I was wondering if we'd get any red castle, green castle, because we've always thought it was the White House when we've red castled, never the actual castle. But if this is actually a new world order, then the United States is just one part of a chess piece. And here we all are like Trump, 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 Biden, Biden, Hillary, Hillary. We're just one part, like a queen and a royals and this whole sitting thing for Europe. This is a huge part of a chess piece.
I will tell you that I think the NWO already exists. I think
they have existed
like this whole thing to like make us think like, oh, the new world order is coming. Like, that's a psyop for me. So I just wanted to note that there was a double rainbow
Mm-hmm.
over Buckingham Palace today after she died, and everyone was just like, look what God put out there for the world. And I just want to be like, if we've ever not thought that weather manipulation was real, not even honestly, now that I say that out loud, it's weather manipulation is probably just a fucking hologram. But
How easy a hologram of
I
a
mean, like,
rainbow.
speaking of holograms, like the picture of her and the fucking prime minister this week, like that was CGI. Like
The prime minister this week, like the amount of stuff that's happened this week, the idea that Boris just stepped down the day before yesterday. And then, so this other lady, supposedly the new
Liz.
prime, yeah, Lizard Beth, another Liz. So Liz meets Liz. And then guess what? The Obamas go to the White House for the first time, all in the same little nugget where they get their pictures.
I gotta say though,
Liz.
old Liz is the 47th prime minister. She is 47 years old. And in Gematria, Liz is 47. Ascend, take my body.
That's it. You just rip into
You're
your light
done,
body.
son.
You did just turn into light for a second, but you look down.
Okay, I have to tell you this. We haven't talked about this yet. Are you aware? And I haven't seen anybody post about this yet. So I'm going to
Okay.
post about it afterwards, and then I'll probably get no credit from anyone. But
I wanted to call you a Scorpio just then, but I think that's your Cancer. I'll get no credit, but I'm going to post it.
I've just been seeing people like post my shit on TikTok and get like 500,000 views. And I'm like, Maria, get over this like weirdness you have about putting yourself out there. Anyways,
dude.
Okay.
We're both weird about putting our face, like us being live on here right now has taken like 2 months. Like since every time we have full shadow.
You guys,
work
we have this
after.
incredible podcast that we're going to launch, just the two of us. We just can't get our shit together to ever do it. But we have literally, I talked to Janie the other night for 4 hours on the phone.
Yeah.
I went to 2 different bars with her on the phone. Did a lap and fucking left. Anyways, okay. All of that to say, did you know that Nostradamus has predicted this? All of this?
Tell me how he predicts it. It'll say like the jewel falls into the ocean on a Tuesday, and people will be like, that means this. I have the hardest time with Nostradamus.
This isn't exactly his writing. This is somebody.
Nostradamus is why QAnon doesn't have it. The Q movement doesn't have any credit because everybody tries to be a fucking Nostradamus and pick a date. So this is why I'm like, just sit back.
Okay. Queen Elizabeth II will die circa 2022 at the age of around 96, 5 years short of her mother's term of life. Prince Charles will be crowned in her stead and become, quote, King of the Islands, quote. The implication here being that he is no longer king of the other regions in the world over which his mother reigned, i.e., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, which will have in the interim have become republics. Prince Charles will be 74 years old in 2022. Our boy
any day now, like a couple weeks.
Is a Scorpio, like us. When he takes over the throne, but the resentments held against him by a certain proportion of the British population following his divorce from Diana, Princess of Wales, still persist. The pressure on him is so great and his age so much against him that Charles agrees to abdicate in favor of his son. The question is, which son? For in the last line, Nostradamus makes it very clear that, quote, a man will replace him who has never expected to be king, end quote. Does this mean that Prince William, who would have expected to succeed his father, is no longer in the picture, and that Prince Harry, by process of default, becomes king in his stead? That would make him King Henry IX, aged just 38.
I feel like part of the reason that you'd put the queen on ice is because the queen never thought the queen thought Charles weak like her own father and never thought he could stand up to, because one of the things, I think she's all evil, Lizard Beth, but one of the things that you have to give credit to the queen for always doing is she felt like her goal was to whatever way you felt about a situation, you believed the queen felt the same way about a situation. So if she saw art, she just by looking at her, you assumed she felt what you felt. You never saw her super happy. You never saw her super sad. You never saw her show emotion.
She's like a fucking that's why they make teddy bears the way that they do and dolls. They make them somewhat emotionless, like they're shapes of emotions because the child is like imprinting and seeing whatever emotion that they're feeling at that time in the doll. So it would be analogous to that, in my opinion.
No, and I think that would be a huge reason what the royals represent in a huge bigger scale for people. It's like as long as the queen came out and she acted like everything was okay, they would have this peace of mind about things. And so it's almost like her whatever she stood, whatever backbone she had, her dad didn't have it. Her mom always told her, your father was never meant to be king. And she knew Charles was too weak for it. Like in our lifetimes, it wasn't just Camilla Parker Bowles that was, he wasn't allowed to be king. And her whole bloodline is nothing but sluts to the royals. Like every single one of the women in Camilla Parker Bowles' family has been
a
mistress to another royal in their lifetime. So it never had anything to do. He was never, he had an arranged marriage from a very young age. That's the whole reason he wasn't allowed to be with Camilla. And so I would put the queen on ice if you were an evil Charles and you were like, fuck my mom, I don't care. Me and my girl are going to become queen. And you're a pedophile anyway. You and your brother Andrew are pedophiles. You're all wrapped up with Jimmy Savile. You're all wrapped up with Epstein. You're all wrapped up in Ghislaine. Cool. This is like the perfect, it's like Camilla Parker Bowles has always been Charles's Hillary to Bill. Like it's that same relationship.
Let's talk about old William, though. Did you see where Dumois leaked that he likes to be pegged recently? Like
that makes so much sense to me.
Okay, explain.
William seems like there's something so kind of wimpy about him that he seems like he would like a woman to peg him. And if you don't know what pegging is, it's where a woman straps on and has sex with you as a dude. But he just seems like that type. He's totally a Pegasaurus.
It's so interesting. Like he was so hot for so long.
And
like he was the hot prince and Harry was the bad boy. He was like the ginger that hadn't quite grown into his own yet.
Do you remember when William and Brittany had a little date?
Oh, I do. That obviously was fake as fuck. It's it's just interesting to me to like the way that like Dumois and the British really take their gossip seriously. It's like
meaner than we do.
Much meaner.
Our Star and Enquirer came from their magazines.
And so it's like, I think the royal talk is like very intense as well. I think it's something that they're somewhat like obsessed with in a way, probably the way that some people are with the Kardashians here. But they like Dumois and all these places, like literally just like list the name of his mistress, like full name. And I don't know, I guess obviously if you're royalty, you just don't give a fuck. You do what you want when you want. I mean, I guess listen to me in the last podcast with you. I was saying that in my relationships, I did what I want when I wanted, but I guess I don't know. They're so like blatant about it sometimes. Well, even they just don't seem to give Harry's a fuck while also
father.
Preaching.
Like it's pretty out there in the tabloids in Europe that Harry's dad is the polo player that Diana had an affair with.
So what if that, okay. Everything's a movie. This is all a whole thing. And if everything is about Loosh and the perpetuation of conflict, and we take a step back and we look at everything objectively, this whole Meghan narrative has been strung along and she's been cast as this like antagonist villain type character, while also being very lovable at the same, like you want to side with her even though she's the villain in the sense of the monarchy. So I find Okay, I've said for a long time, I think that this was all intentional. I think that their distance from the monarchy was intentional because, in the grand scheme of things, if a prince leaves and moves to the United States in a way that has never occurred before, that's like the prince of the people, and he's down and he's cool and he doesn't have a secret service or whatever it is anymore. They had Archie on American soil. So
Well,
theoretically, 35 years from now, Archie could run for president. And then if you really are Vril, then you have the monarchy, and then you have a child in the presidency. And if it's really not a child and it's, your consciousness that you're inserting into a meat suit that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, wouldn't that be the ultimate goal?
I politically, the Meghan Markle of it all is a way that two birds, one stone. You have your royalty, not only marry an American. So you're the same way as these old weddings are happening, where they're bringing together kingdoms. We have a pagan prince and a Protestant and queen, and we marry them together. And now the whole lands underneath them join. It's kind of like that same idea. We have this American princess. So she marries the monarchy, but what else is she more key to them than American? She's Black. And so here for the monarchs, who are the biggest human traffickers of all time, still to this day, they own so much of Africa that the queen is always having to take railroad trips through Africa. Like, this is part of her whole existence, because they always politically, the same way they have to remind Europe that, oh, look, you all love this, put flowers out in front of the unicorn. Oh, look, the queen's going by the Jubilee, this, whatever these rituals are that make them, everything's okay. The queen's got us. They have to do this less frequently through Africa to remind those people that they still answer to the monarch as well. So having a Black person now in the royals, when you all of a sudden are taking this train trip and waving your hand in the same way, they can just send Harry and Meghan. How great. They like two birds, one stone.
My other thought is like, if they're going to continue this Meghan narrative, this villain arc, and all of the things that you've said today, like, what if she convinces Harry to tell the British people that, like, the Windsors aren't really the true monarchs, and that it's really his mother, and that he should, you know what I mean? Like, is that how Nostradamus, like, is that how we get there? Does, like, Meghan come in and convince everyone who the true monarch is? It's just like fucking loosh fest I see for years to come.
Well, this is the whole reason where I would be like, if you really wanted to loosh people, you would tell them about Jimmy Savile 20 years ago. If you really wanted to loosh people, you'd be like, hey, this was going on, and this guy actually had a hotel room inside your insane asylums and child hospitals, and he is raping and pillaging and doing sacrifices of this, and everybody knows it, and he's best friends with King Charles, and the Queen knighted him, and he hangs out at the castle, and everywhere you've seen Ghislaine sit, he's sat too. Every cabin you've seen him, Jimmy's there. So it's like, if you really wanted to loosh him, but for some reason, like, this would be the best loosh. Let them know the real truth of Epstein Island. It would be the best loosh, but they keep burying it. They keep burying Jimmy Savile.
Something I just wanted to add, she, in the astrology of it all, she died on the day of a Saturn moon conjunction, with each planet sharing the same ascension. They'll be visible in front of the constellation of Capricornus, which is like the goat slash Baphomet. And the conjunction's highest point will be 33 degrees naturally above the southern horizon at 3:14. If you believe that, like, space isn't fake and gay. But what
the Mars of
70
it all.
70-year reign, the longest of any monarchy. So think about it. Unless you're like fucking 80 years old, you don't know anyone else.
And if we do the Tatarian idea of great resets happening to us every 3 generations, has there ever been anyone else?
Exactly. Are our parents real? Like,
we only can go back
programmed.
Most people can only go back as far as their great grandparents, like where they actually have idea of who that is, like your grandparent parent. And usually your grandparent parent has a really fucking crazy death. They like your great grandparents don't have normal. Usually your
It's quite a
grandparents,
story.
yeah, or even your grandparents. It's like, like my grandparents, they'd be in their like 90s at this point, 100. They like the amount of kids, how they grew up, like their Irish potato picking family, like their weird Chicago mafia. I'm like, they just seem so young, where that's the Tatarian idea. When you look at everything about our history, it's like kids on the prairie, kids working, kids in factories, because there was no adults. They killed them.
Can you make the connection for everyone to JFK Jr.? How do you make a connection here?
Okay. And I call it the SOG, the Secret Society of Good Guys. SSOGG.
Everyone, welcome to the SOG.
This is the glitteriest red pill. This is the glitteriest red pill.
So remember, guys, we like to talk about things in varying levels of the psyop. So, like, to me, on one end is the red pill romantic, where you believe in Q and Trump and it's all coming around to save the day. And then obviously there's like beyond the black pill.
Q and Trump are small potatoes. If you get glittery red pilled, you believe Michael Jackson's still alive.
Okay, I'm just
like
saying.
If we get glittery,
I'm just
red
like
pill,
getting the okay. So you
this
guys,
is how
this is
glittery
the
red pill.
extreme. This is like
extreme.
red pill, black magic, glitter times infinity. Go.
Okay. In the Secret Society of Good Guys, we protect the good guys with paparazzi. All of the paparazzi, what you think are cameras, are actually protection devices. So we follow around our secret society, from Trump to Britney Spears to JFK Jr. to Princess Diana. We always have them safe. Everyone can look this up. Princess Diana, there's tons and tons and tons of interviews that she stood up and got out of that car. And then the same that happens to from Diana to Martin Luther King Jr., they always die at the hospital. But let's just say the Secret Society of Good Guys got her out of the car in a John McAfee type way and replaced her with a lookalike. And they take the real Diana away. Because if you wanted Da Vinci codes, Diana attaches to King Arthur, and there is thought that Mary Magdalene and Jesus had children. Mary's womb was sacred, and that goes on, and Christ's bloodline is spread throughout the world. But if there was an evil they want to destroy this bloodline. So
can I interject very momentarily? This goes into the discussion of 23andMe and Ancestry and why they're asking us to send in our DNA, because they're looking for the Christ gene.
And it would be dispersed throughout all different people now. There would be this magic next level stuff that was going on. And maybe it just wasn't Christ as we know it. Maybe it was a couple of bloodlines. So this goes on to King Arthur. Some people think the sword and the stone would actually be any time you could pull a child from that womb. Anytime you could pull a child out of the Christ bloodline would be pulling a sword of the stone. So you would create a Knights of the Round Table to protect this Ark of the Covenant, like bigger than any cup, bigger than anything. Protecting this is our number one idea. We don't care if we all have to die to protect it. So we separate the bloodline. We send some of them here. We send some of them there. We don't want them to all be together. But we have our little taglines, and maybe evil they have taglines to each other. So you would call things like, we got to kill Camelot. We got to take down Camelot. So JFK Jr., if you look at him, yeah, kind of him and Princess Di. But if you look at his wife that was on the plane and her sister and her dog that went down with him that day, she looks just like Princess Di in a really bizarre kind of way. And so if they were still alive and Princess Di was still alive, Michael Jackson could have totally faked his own death. Trump's been totally insulated this whole entire time. And he always brings up the golden escalator, which if we go into the Simpsons of it all, they killed him. And that would be the biggest loose thing they could do, would be to kill Trump. Like that. And so I think he mocks him with that every speech. And when I came down off that golden escalator, because that was supposed to be the moment on every other timeline that they capped him, but one timeline they didn't. So yeah, I think Camelot, JFK Jr., something about Jackie O, even how Onassis would have protected her and her kids. He was the richest man on the planet, had no reason. He was dating her sister, had no reason or want to protect a woman who not only was her husband just assassinated, her brother-in-law was just assassinated, and they were coming for her. Why would he even want to get mixed up in it? the richest man on the planet, because something's bigger than that. Secret Society of Good Guys. And what goes along with the Secret Society of Good Guys? The Secret Society of Witches that weren't burned. So
I wish I had this pulled up, but first
this
off,
is
I
my
want to
glittery
answer a
red
question
pill.
that somebody had in the chat that just said, wouldn't you think the quote unquote Christ gene would know not to do a 23andMe? I'm not saying that this person would be like Christ-like in any sort of way. I'm just saying that they would have the same DNA as the quote unquote same supposed Christ. And so that's what the co-founder of 23andMe was married to the co-founder of Google. And if you remember what Q used to say, follow the wives. So I just think that DNA, things like that, are looking for some sort of superior DNA or structure or whatever. And then I also think they're taking it and maybe making fucking like an army of clones or from it.
And the Christ Mary thing is a whole conspiracy on its own, that it really, people always think of it because it's not written in their Bible, that this feels blasphemous in a way, but you can find different versions of the Bible where Peter was all jealous because Christ kissed Mary right on the mouth, and he was her she was his favorite. And there's also said that there's like 11 books missing from the Bible, from Enoch to the book of Egyptians to Mary of Magdalene to the book of Judas. Like, you could go into all these things. So the idea that people, even if you were from a specific bloodline, you could, let's just say in the 3D, you were from Princess Diana's womb and you had a rightful heir to England, you wouldn't know. You would just be walking around doing your everyday thing.
Oh, right. Like, let's say, okay, that brings me up to, I was about to say, if you were like some twin that like got dropped off at a different hospital. Have you heard the conspiracy theory that, I mean, we could even get into a discussion on clones right now, but have you heard the conspiracy theory that Elizabeth had a twin and that they switched in and out?
No, but I know about her sister, but not a twin.
Okay, tell me about her sister.
Her sister was kind of like a socialite, and her and Elizabeth had a really almost in the same way you keep seeing, like, there's always the prince that is a goody goody that's supposed to become the king, and then you have Harry. It's
Right.
almost like the
It's the
queen's
same fucking
sister was
archetype.
like Harry, where she was like, dating celebrities and falling in love. And she always had this like deep down thing that she was never the queen. I think there was this period of time when the queen went to, like, I don't remember if the queen got sick or if she was in Africa doing a tour, that her sister got to do like a bunch of acting like jobs as the queen regent for a little while going around, and everybody loved her like they loved Diana. Like, she was, because the queen always was vanilla. She wasn't trying to have an emotion. She felt like God first, then her. Like, this is the real hierarchy, where her sister was like all personality and like a little sexier, a little more flirty with the press in a way. Like, obviously Queen Elizabeth never was flirty with the press. But another thing about Queen Elizabeth, this is so dykey, but I'm totally going to say it. She had the biggest set of cans.
Oh, lizard?
Yeah, the biggest
Really?
set of tits. Like, they don't fit her body. If you look at her young and all the way back in time, it's like, holy Moses, that woman's got a rack on her. They don't fit. And she was a huge equestrian, huge with horses. This is like corgis and horses. I just think horses would be a perfect way to smuggle humans. Do it Churchill Downs, Kentucky Derby. Don't open that box. That's my prize winning $1 million thoroughbred, and you're not going to touch it. It's just like a perfect drugs, guns. You could smuggle anything in horses. That kind of expensive livestock. It's like art in the embassy. They're not going to open
I am attempting to find the blind item. Okay. Fucking found it. I'm so excited. Okay. Everyone, let's do a quick refresher on blind items, because it's going to sound funny when I read it at first, but imagine you've got a juicy piece of information. You want to share sort of gossip like this, and you wanted to come out and say something about a Kardashian, even if it's true, even if you have like the information that you need to prove it, a celebrity of that stature is likely going to sue you just to like shut you up, and they have all the money in the world for attorney's fees. So they might file defamation, even though it's not defamation, even though it is true, just so you're not out in the press. Obviously, that's different now with the advent of the anon. What?
Oh, I was going to say, and it could be that I don't even give a shit about being sued, but I'm an actual celebrity with gossip, and I don't want my name to be like Cheney said this about my Maria.
Right.
So
Right. Right. Right.
instead,
Right.
I give you the information as the reporter off record, and then they're just like, person A said this, but
So
it's
there's a website called crazydaysandnights.com, and there's a guy that goes by entertainment lawyer, so he calls himself Inti, and Inti has posted blind items for years, and that's originally what got me into conspiracy, because at the time my then boyfriend was getting into like conspiracy stuff, and I was reading blind items, and it was all fall 2017, and it tied together with Kevin Spacey and Weinstein and all that kind of stuff. Anyways,
can I tell you who does a great show on this, by the way? If anyone wants to check out blind items, that's so awesome. They can probably even subscribe on YouTube, but I know YouTube's taken them down a million times. Look for Jamie Deluxe, Dlux. He does all these blind items, really goes into it. He was one of the first people that before it was Epstein Island, before it was just Disney, any of these like Steven Spielberg, Drew Barrymore weird stories you hear from creepy Hollywood, he does all those ones and attaches it in detail with like where they were filming certain movies, who was on set. So it's just a really good dude for this kind of stuff. Go on.
So what Inti or somebody writing blind items will do is they will write something that's true, but they'll write it in a way that is not like easily identifiable, but also is identifiable if you follow him, if you know his lingo, if you know how he's writing something. So like sometimes you might read one and it seems extremely nonsensical, but the more you like watch the pattern, you'll get it. And then that way he can leak information without being accused of defamation, because he never actually says the person's name. And the comment sections on Crazy Days and Nights are notorious for like the first 2 or 3 comments always are who it's about. So it's like you don't even have to do a lot of reading. Anyways, he posted this as a reveal. So a reveal would be he posts a blind item, and then X number of years later, he posts it as a reveal and is like, hey, look, I posted this years ago and I couldn't verify it now, but now a third party has verified it. So let me show you what I was right about. He posted this on the 4th of July in 2020, having originally posted on February 24th of 2020. And he says, shortly before his death, so this is how it's written, this offspring of an A++ lister was desperate for financing. So shortly before his death, JFK Jr. was desperate for financing. The publisher of his magazine was going to drop him and he needed investors. Despite his fame, no one wanted to partner with him because it was just throwing money away. Apparently, one group that was willing to talk to him were drug dealers. Unfortunately, these particular investors would be arrested if they entered the United States. So our offspring, JFK Jr., flew north to Canada to meet with them. He did this several times. It looked as if a deal was going to be made. Then something happened. At a final meeting about a week before the death of our offspring, JFK Jr., he flew north again, but this time he was wearing a wire. The investors discovered it by accident because there was a metal detector in the lobby of the building where they were meeting, and the alarm was set off by the wire. All of the interested parties were in the lobby at the same time, moving through the detectors, and everyone saw when JFK Jr. had to remove his jacket and show what triggered the alarm. A week later, JFK Jr. was dead. Or was it witness protection program? So in a previous paragraph, they had been talking about Huma and Anthony Weiner. And so it says, Huma says he was killed. The thing is, though, she would have been about 10 when it happened and is relying on what her husband had to say about it all. I don't believe that like JFK Jr. was like that R who posted back on the boards in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I never believed that like that was part of like quote unquote trusting the plan. If I have ever objectively heard a theory of why he might still be alive, that would be something like it.
I just because of how Piper Aircraft is in my hometown, and that's the plane he flew. And just everything I know about him, he was an anal pilot. He was so on the like one of the good things about like an Inquirer or Star magazine. You go to like OJ Simpson, Bruno Mali's shoes because they had so many pictures. They also had so many pictures of JFK Jr. with his flight log. They had so many pictures of JFK Jr. do like checking his propeller, checking his plane, crawling all over it. Like he wasn't. It's the same way they like kill a celebrity like a Mac Miller, and then they try to be like, oh, he's a huge drug addict. And everybody that really knew Mac Miller was like, no, he was clean for the last few years of his life and his death was sketchy. Or like everyone that really knew Robin Williams, they're like, no, he was fine. That was a sketchy death. It's like with JFK Jr., they try to make him like, oh, he was just so crazy and reckless, but he wasn't at all. And they found every single part of his plane except the co-pilot chair, which he never flew. He was trying to get hours, especially for night flying. So you would need somebody to mark your hours, your instructor. He wasn't just going to randomly night fly his wife, her sister, and his dog somewhere. He was just an like very responsible pilot. And so I do think he was murdered that day. Or I think everything, if you look at that flight, there's no way that death is more sketchy than JFK Sr.'s death. Everything about it, even the way his gas was turned off inside his plane and his flight just went straight down. But he could have known that they were trying to kill him. And what a perfect way to fake your own death out in the middle of Martha's Vineyard, where a plane can pick you up and take you right to your family's house, or a boat you can just water land, or who knows what kind of different next level ways they would
plan you would have.
Yeah, it would be so easy. And then you have the Clintons are the ones who literally sent out the Coast Guard to look for JFK Jr. when they couldn't find him.
You know what nobody ever talks about back then is that he was running against Hillary for the Senate seat.
It was his seat to have. And if you think about it, here's a guy from New York. He has a George magazine published in New York. His mom's a longtime New York publisher herself. Everything about him's New York. What does Hillary's connections to New York have anything to Al Capone? What does Hillary have to do with anything to do with New York? So
She's
the idea that she just,
girly.
Yeah, she slid into her family's from Chicago. Her dad was like some higher up for Al Capone when he died. And so, you got that Chicago Obama again. Everything's through that middle part of the country. What is she doing in New York at all? So it's just like the Clintons had every reason to off JFK Jr.
But I mean, you can go into that whole discussion too about the patent that Hillary got at the Rose Law Firm in Arkansas, supposedly like the one that allows her to like turn off an what is it called again? I'm fucking this up. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh, really?
Is this
Shit.
Gold Cube?
I'm gonna have to Google this here in a second. Okay. The Rose Law Firm was in Arkansas. That's where Hillary worked as an attorney when she began. And it had some ownership interest in a patent that is essentially like can remotely turn off something with a motor.
Oh.
You've never heard this?
No.
Really? Oh my God, we got to talk about this in the next podcast when I'm prepared. Yeah, that's what they say like Arkansas is about. That's the way that they've been able to like kill so many people in vehicles and airplanes and shit like that, because literally Hillary has a patent that turns that shit off. Like bing bong, and it's a real thing. We'll have to talk about that in the next episode.
Here on the JFK Jr. finish up.
Okay. Bring it back full circle.
DJT, when he's in office, they are like, hey, we're going to get a new Air Force One made. He's like, no, I'm good. Probably because he was like, I'm not messing around with anything. I'm not going in anything
like no
that
government
you guys
contracts
build.
On this.
Yeah, like, no, thanks. We're not building a new plane. But apparently somewhere he did build a new plane or did sign the contracts, because there's a brand new like big Trump plane coming out that he did a whole video for. And if you look up this brand new plane, he painted this plane exactly like the plane that JFK Jr. went down in. So I just think there are some little clever connections still.
If I just think if
the
witness protection program discussion.
Oh, and President Biden, you're the biggest traitor. What about that JFK Jr. article?
What happened?
Well, from the FBI, it's something, I will read it off my page.
I swear I come from a timeline where Hillary Clinton used to spell her name with one L only.
Like it was
Because
just
I always
different.
thought it should be two L's. And then I always had to change it to one L. But, you know,
If you can find me at Cheney underscore and one underscore Wonderland on IG, you can find this post where it's a blast from the past. JFK Jr. called Biden a traitor all the way back in 1984 or 1994. And he said, accompanying handwriting, handprinted letter dated in 8/26/94, beginning, Dear Senator Biden, you are a traitor, and bearing a signature of John F. Kennedy Jr. So you got that connection too, since traitor is also another word for traitor would be renegade. And that is the Secret Service name of Barack Hussein Obama.
that whole Loosh Fest that happened, what was it, yesterday, displaying what their portraits that were painted.
Yeah.
Such a strange, I'm not saying habit, tradition that we have in that way.
Remember when everybody thought that Biden wasn't in the real White House and that it was
Oh,
all
yeah.
like in Tyler Perry's mansions and stuff?
Yes.
And we can all say that whatever they said happened January 6th was nothing what kind of happened, but they used it as an excuse to lock down all of DC and like put fences around everything and like shut the whole thing down. And anyone that knows anything about DC, they say all those government offices are closed, from the IRS building. Still, this is years now, that since January 6th, 2021, and all those offices are still closed, all on the street. What if we had to convince certain people that certain things were still going according to plan, and we just had to
Like
get them to show
a
up?
federal government still existed.
Yeah, like if everything's really locked down, I mean, seriously, what would be the point? What is the logical reason why they would fake the White House? They can just go in the White House. You're the president now. But Trump stepped down early. That's the whole nother weird part of it too. Obama handed Trump the White House. And then Trump left the White House early and supposedly took the key and took everything else. They put fences around that thing. And then we watch, the next time we see Washington, D.C., is Biden being sworn in on the Necronomicon, and Lady Gaga and her Hunger Games brooch. That's the next time we see them, which that could have all been just as easily a playhouse as the fake White House was been. So I was just like, what if it was all just a lure to like, finally, it took us a few years, but here are Barack and Michelle, and now we can arrest them.
You wish.
Well,
wish.
It's like magic games.
Right. I guess what I think the fences and the things that were built around it was to continue to perpetuate the January 6th narrative that like they were scared and they needed protection and that all of these people were coming. So there's that. It's hard for me to
get glittery red pilled.
Glittery red pilled and like really talk about Trump and Biden as if like they're people that are actually like they're actually trying to get the presidency again, like as if they're real people. They don't do it for me in that way. It's all the actor based reality. So let me transition that now to the Vril conversation.
Okay, let's Vril.
Let's Vril people.
What?
I just looked at the chat. Somebody said, does anyone get strong JoJo Siwa vibes from Jamie? No.
Strong what?
JoJo Siwa.
I don't even know what that is.
She was on Dance Moms. If you don't know, don't worry about it. It's just funny to me. Okay.
I don't want to be on Dance Moms.
Vril. I have this.
Don't try to change the subject. I don't want to be on Dance Moms. You laughed at me about Dance Moms, and now you're gonna Vril me.
Well, I was vrilling. I had a side eye of this comment, and then I came back to you. I'm so sorry that I changed the subject. Anyways,
Okay,
We talk
really?
about reptilians. We talk about aliens. I don't believe in the little green alien. I do believe that interdimensional beings exist, I suppose. But like, I don't know how to reconcile the reptilian discussion. Like, I don't really know how I feel about it. I acknowledge that it exists. But like, there are times when like you see someone and they, especially when I watch things on TV, I feel like I can see a little bit beyond the veil, the lights coming in a little bit more, and I see the reptilian type face. What's like your initial thoughts on it before I dive deep?
I believe there's probably shapeshifters. I believe there's people that are species that are different than us. Like, I don't
Okay,
know if they
let's
run
let's
colder
let's
blood
start
or
here. Let's go fucking True Blood because we've had this discussion before. Cheney believes that fairies exist, fae, shapeshifters. I agree with the shapeshifters too. I think the fae exist too.
vampires.
We think vampires exist.
I think werewolves are just shapeshifters. Anywhere, where panther, where wolf, where whatever animal you turn into, you're just a shapeshifter.
But do you believe a shapeshifter can just change into like anything, like an inanimate object, or it's something alive, or do we need to go that
I
deep? I
think there's
suppose.
different kinds of magic, but I also think that reptilian skin, like even the look of it, if you were to turn into a holographic iridescent type thing, people might get the idea that you looked reptile, like wet or oily. But there's something about them that feels hologrammy. Like it's
I
less
agree.
shapeshifter, it's less real. Like they don't feel tangible in flesh. Like operating flesh is high magic. So for them, they would need, even in the small end of like Santeria, you, if you ask for like, I want this job, you might get a saint, and then you have to pay homage to that saint by doing a specific thing for the job that you had. The second that you don't do that thing, it comes back on you so much worse the second you don't follow through with your end of the bargain. In a big way, that's what I think these people are doing. I don't
Okay.
know what their bargain is, but they asked for something. They let a deity into them for power, for fame, for money, whatever these gluttonous type things are. They let this deity in, and that deity slowly takes over. Now with bloodlines, I think there's bloodlines that have let certain deities in, or maybe whatever their alchemical breakdown is of them, their blood lets these energies into them. The same way we would talk about a Christ bloodline being a higher, there has to be a low vibe bloodline that's easier for them to jump onto.
So I think if we take the idea of a reptilian, whatever that may be, of a parasite, if you will. Okay, if you take the idea of a reptilian and then you break that down for me into like the idea of a parasite and the idea over here that we go into this altered carbon, the 100 that I'll talk about more here in a second. But the idea that you could take consciousness and put it into some sort of form that's transferable. So to me, the Vril is taking both of those ideas of some sort of parasite having the ability to have its own consciousness or having the ability to transfer a consciousness into an individual. So I did this post back, let's see, on August 17th, where there's this guy like on Twitter, and he was talking about after a chip is installed in the brain, it can be maintained without surgery by going through the eye socket. This would cause temporary swelling and bruising or a quote unquote black eye. And it was talking about the Daily Mail had put something on how brain chips for lawyers could cut legal fees. And somebody had sent this to me. And so then I went and I thought about the Black Eye Club and all of the celebrities and the Pope and Prince Philip and all these different people that we've seen that have had black eyes in the past. What if that's not like an initiation ritual? What if that's like because they're basically getting a fucking lobotomy and something like is being installed behind their eye? So if you take that idea of the brain chip, the like Elon Musk Neuralink type idea, but then you think about it on like a parasitic, like the Faculty movie, where there's like a worm entering your brain. So what if that is what a reptilian is? And what if the parasitic worm like is the little green alien that we've been Like we've thought that they're this like sophisticated form of a gray. And while that a gray might exist, I think it's all about parasites for me. I have a safe story about parasites.
No, a lot of the people in the Tatarian school of thought believe it's all about parasites. Like that's even what they call any of the quote unquote elite. They'll just be like parasites, parasites, parasites. But if you even think in just a 3D way, we were all dewormed as kids. And why did we stop doing that? Like, when does it stop? When do you hit 18? And then they're like, oh, you don't get worms anymore. But if you talk to friends of yours that live in South America or the islands or parts of Africa, they're all dewormed all the time. But in America, we're under some idea that but parasites, if you look up all the side effects of parasites, I mean, it's every health ailment.
Okay, so this is what this graphic I have that talks about Vril, and it talks about two different types of Vril. And it says that they're ancient lizards. They are smaller creatures. Although small, they are carnivorous and unforgiving. They prefer to attack in packs, blah, 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 blah. Children are the number one preference as their flesh is newer and less tainted with vaccines and whatnot. So they do a droning process. These type of Vril have I don't know how to pronounce this, a proboscis that transfers a parasite to the human host via the eye, where the foamy like parasitic substance absorbs into the brain. The human consciousness then ceases to exist and it is replaced with the Vril consciousness, which takes over. This is painful for the human until the transfer is complete, and then the Vril will mimic the former human behaviors, although there are sometimes obvious signs of a quote unquote difference. They retain all previous knowledge and the experiences of the former human. So, like, sometimes I wonder if,
Like Invasion of the Body
they're not.
Snatchers.
Uh-huh. And like when we see Biden with like all his faux pas right now, like, is that both like the meat suit going through
Dude, it's so
end of
weird.
life Alzheimer's shit, but then also it's Revenge of the Body Snappers and like the Vrils fading in and out?
Or if he just pretends he's going demented so that way when he has his crimes against humanity, he doesn't have to be on trial. But what you're saying, it's so weird. I actually drove a buddy of mine. He had to go get something weird done to his eye today, and they put him under. And when I picked him up, he had one swollen fucking eye. And I was like, what did they do? And he's like, something really little, but I guess like your eye skin is so sensitive. Like the second they go under it and do any kind of work for it, it just swells. And so everything you're saying makes so much sense to me after seeing him today. Like his eye tomorrow will slowly turn the yellow to black and bruise up. And then if you think of the Rothschilds and Prince Philip and all these like next level elite, they're not going through the ritual of initiation. These people that we're talking about with the black eyes are the people that are like the highest up on the list, like the queen. She isn't going through initiation at 75. It makes more sense that she's getting an upgrade.
Now, it says the faces of some of these reptiles can resemble that of a crab, lending to the term crab nasties as coined by Donald Marshall. Now, I have you and I started watching the 100 and then we finished it at different times. You haven't finished it now. But in the 100 in the last season, so spoiler alert, don't listen to this if you're watching it.
Blah,
Blah, blah, blah,
blah.
the families the families that left Earth and then traveled through portals, which I want to talk about here in a second, to this like place that they're in, I think maybe like 250 or 300 years had elapsed, and it was the same people that had left Earth that had stayed alive all of this time. And so they had figured out a way to like stack consciousness in the way that they do on Altered Carbon and the way that they do in Black Mirror. And then what they would do in this last season of the 100 is these families is like when that meat suit would die, when that body would fail in some way, they had created themselves as gods and convinced their constituents basically to worship them and offer them their bodies, but they would just take the consciousness out and put it into them, and like that's how they lived forever. So if the Vril is real. And I mean, the Vril could be real in the sense that it happened 100 years ago and it's now Vril DNA that has trickled down. And like these people are still reptilian in the same way that you were just talking about that God gene. But I don't know. I just have to imagine like that's possible. And that's why they're soft disclosing it in movies. And I wonder, where does Elizabeth's consciousness go? Like, because this whole 10-day thing that she has created for herself, to me, allows them to like fuck with her body, take out her consciousness. Like, does this go in one of the grandchildren? Does this go in the new child, Lilybeth? Is that why that child was named Lilybeth? Or
And then,
Lilybeth, or whatever the fuck it is.
or like you're saying, like she was Elizabeth II. We're under the second Elizabethan era that just finished. The first Queen Elizabeth. So when it gets back to that, Charles is Charles III. Harry would be Harry the Ninth. Like their names are picked almost for the number that they get of. Like there's interviews. Diana knew she was never going to be queen. So it's like they know immediately who's going to do it at birth. So if Charles is the oldest person to ever land on the throne right now, is he going to pass it up to his son before death like that? Or will it just skip over William to, like you're saying, Lilibeth? But then Kate, they keep trying to do this thing that William and Kate are of the people, but Harry and Meghan are even more of the people because Charles isn't of the people at all.
I would wonder, like, if any of those individuals even get to basically like retain their own consciousness in a sense. Like maybe they do, and maybe these are a whole family that they've repeated over time. But I mean, in one instance, you could wonder if Elizabeth would just go right into Charles.
It's Westworld, like balls almost. You know how they
Yes,
have their
exactly.
consciousness in a ball and they just change the robot. But it's like I almost think, because then who is Winston Churchill in all this? Like there's still these huge family bloodlines that are at play.
I mean, Churchill could be one of the children at this point. You know what I mean?
Winston.
And it might be like in the 100, the body has to get to a certain age before it's ready to like accept, like before the brain can handle one consciousness taking over the other. So, I mean, those consciousness, they could just be sitting on like a hard drive somewhere until it's time.
Where it's like an idea of like Hitler's always Hitler. Like there's nothing you can do about it. Like he just, when the body was ready, this thing steps in.
Right. So maybe 25 years passes, Lilibeth turns 25, and then they download the queen's consciousness into her. She wakes up and it's like no time has passed, but 25 years have passed.
Do you think the monarchy survives this?
I think the monarchy is another part of the movie. So it will serve its purpose while it's supposed to serve its purpose. If it fails, it's because it failed intentionally. And that lends into that like whole Meghan and Harry narrative. But at this point, like, why would it fail? Why hasn't it failed before? I would be interested to know in what part of the British pound, like what percentage of that of it like eventually reaches the crown. Do they get any money?
Oh yeah,
from the public?
I think she's the biggest real estate owner on the planet.
The whole term of like commonwealth, the wealth of the commoners. You know, it's I don't know. I mean, why do any of us live in the places we do? But I just couldn't imagine contributing to that.
Who has to show up for the queen's death, for her funeral? Does the House of Saud show up? Does the Pope show up? Do the presidents show up? Like, where do we go with this? Who's at this event? And how big of a false flag are we creating for our next spell? Sorry, if FBI, if you're watching this.
I don't know.
Hit like and subscribe.
I don't think the monarchy fails. I think that it's always a louche fest, and then it's an obsession. Like the Kardashians have become an obsession for some, in that there's a story written on them every single day. Something's going on every single day. They have the ability to corner the interest of individuals every single day, and so I think that the monarchy does that for a great deal of individuals in the UK. So like, why would they willingly give give up on that at this point. And by they, I mean the architects, I mean the writers of the plot. I don't mean any of these
I
people,
just
like,
mean like they
individually.
don't want to give up on Hollywood, but Hollywood's dead. It's like their spell has been lifted. You know, if you kill a witch, like 1,000-year-old witch, all the spells that she did in her whole life lift, like Beauty and the Beast, whatever happened with Hollywood, it's dead. It's not the same Hollywood we grew up in. Like you're
No, not
saying,
at
Kim
all.
Kardashian is talentless, and that's the most famous person in all the hills.
And she's shaping pop culture and the things that we consume, like, on a daily basis.
Even her latest photo shoot with the blonde eyebrows and the blonde hair, just because they're letting us know we are headed into a Barbie world. Because if we head into a Barbie world, what's next? That's sex doll world. That's computer animated world where all of our faces are the exact same on both sides, where Barbie is a computer made human being. So it's like for Kim to be leaning in, we got the Barbie movie coming out. Nicki Minaj just did her video where she's like all blonde, like sitting in a Barbie house. So it's like, I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Like they really want us with this idea of like contour, like it's the fake Hollywood now. It's fake.
I mean, we're all
almost
kind of like, they're
CGI'd.
trying to achieve that like Barbie disproportionate body.
That's what the Kardashians almost have.
I have a prediction that they're grooming Kim Kardashian to run for president. All the more confirmed to me that she's like partnering with a venture capitalist to get into private equity. But that's another discussion for another day. I don't want to give them any more time than they deserve. They're just, everything's a part of the narrative of
the Royals would just feel like the same kind of spell as Hollywood to me, where
Right.
maybe their spell is dead, because whatever the queen had, whatever energy that people can say that they respected about the queen, Charles doesn't have that. And the only thing Charles ever had going for him was Diana. And he was jealous of that.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's intentional. I think they're going to put him in there. People are going to hate him. They're going to talk shit about him. It's always going to be about Diana. It's always going to come back to that. I don't know if you saw that the driver of the vehicle that clipped their vehicle came out within the last week or so and was like, hey, I'm willing to talk. Let's fucking talk about it. I'm only doing it if somebody pays me this amount of money. And I was just thinking to myself, like, if that's real, like, why hasn't anyone paid that before? Like,
you're like, if that's real, why are you still alive?
Pay this guy whatever the fuck he wants, and then like do a pay-per-view special on it. It would pay for itself. So I just thought that was a strange narrative. But I mean, if Nostradamus is correct, if Nostradamus is real, and Charles isn't going to be the king, then like something's going to happen, which would eventually lead to what happens next, and that's all. I mean, this is probably what Queen's death will be Kobe-esque, Loosh-wise. We'll be talking about it into November, perhaps into Christmas. You know, the first Christmas without the Queen, that type of
way.
shit.
I think we forget so much sooner because Red October is coming.
I'm just saying, like, they're just gonna pull this on. Something's gonna happen with Charles. I don't think he'll be king for long. I think that's what I'm predicting.
Yeah, I feel like the monarchy is kind of going to be in a really rough place. I feel like in our lifetime, the queen being dead, there's no rightful heir that anyone's kind of in love with. They keep trying to create that like same fervor that Diana had, but they're not in love with any of them like that. And then their prime minister stepping down after the Brexit. He's the Brexit prime minister. So you have him stepping down, and every single president, we've watched these American presidents like Bush and Blair, and then like we watch them all come through with these certain prime ministers. The Queen's made it through all of them. Now you have this brand new Liz. No, this Liz gone, that Liz there.
Brand new Liz and Charles. I don't know.
King Charles.
King Charles.
No, never. It
doesn't flow.
It's just not supposed to happen on this timeline that he was ever the king. Like we're all old enough to remember that, but all of our attention spans have been so broken that it's like we're like, oh, a Maricron, like, oh, monkeypox, what? Like no one even knows what's happening anymore.
I don't know. For me, it's like a faint memory. Like I know he's not supposed to be king. and I can kind of remember when I learned it, but I don't know. It's just like it's barely there. But like almost like a different lifetime, perhaps.
Another
Perhaps.
timeline because we're on the highest possible
Ooh,
timeline.
okay. I wanted to say this while I was thinking about if Vril existed, if they have the ability to like get into us and take over our consciousness and that type of thing. What if like these full moons and these like moon children, this like Aleister Crowley discussion on moon children, we think that Hillary Clinton was a moon child. We think that Barbara Bush was a moon child. We think that
I like how you brought up Aleister Crowley and Barbara Bush, or her dad.
daddy. Oh, daddy. I have a good side by side on that. But what's her face, Chrissy Teigen, and the gay guy they
Legend.
supposedly
John
had
Legend.
their
Chrissy
daughters.
Teigen, and what's her trans husband's name?
Yeah, their daughter's supposed to be a moon child. And so I was wondering what if it was always about birthing a new host for consciousness? Like, what if that's
yeah,
what a
you
moon
have
child is
to.
really about? Is that you're doing this whole ritual because eventually 25 years from now, that child is going to, like somebody's consciousness is going to get downloaded into it. I
And
don't
what if
know.
certain energies, no matter what, like let's say Cleopatra, just had an energy about her? Like anyone that was ever around Marilyn Monroe said there was an energy about her that was like, no matter who you were, woman or man, gay, straight, you fell in love with her. And it wasn't just the way she carried herself. She was like intelligent and she was charming and she was just like lady on point where people were just slayed by her. And so what if certain energies just are that energy? They're that magnetizing,
Like palpable.
Yeah, where it's just doesn't matter. Cleopatra is always going to be Cleopatra. It doesn't matter what time, what country, what you put her in. She's going to turn into Selena or Kim Kardashian. It's like whatever you do with that Diana energy, it's always going to be that Diana energy. Like the whole world loved it. Like there was nothing. It's like people can say things now, and you'll have a couple of those like really low level sites where they just transvestigate everything. So every man's a woman and every woman's a man, and that's all they do. It's like, no, look, this arm's long and ladies don't have arms this long. There's some people that will be like, I think Princess Diana was a man, but that's really the only bad shit you can find about Princess Diana anywhere. Like she was just one of those, like
One of those broads.
before Michael Jackson had all his scandal, everybody loved Michael like that. There's only a certain few people on the planet that have gotten that love where it was just love. JFK Jr. was a dude like that. Like you can never say Trump was that dude. He didn't ever have it where everybody just loved Trump. No, no one loved Trump like that.
Did you see 6 years ago that a naked man climbed out of a window at Buckingham Palace?
I do remember that.
I saw that like floating around a little bit today, and like there was never any explanation for it. And I believe he had some sort of a like sheath that he had tied together, and he was using it to like rappel down from some sort of second or third floor. But he was butt ass naked, and like nobody ever said anything about it. What happened to him? Where is he? Where are you? Where's the expose? Come on my podcast. You're probably dead.
There's another thing about the royals that the royal with the lamb will be the heir to the throne. And apparently you can only find William with the lamb. Like there's something like there's pictures out there that you can find of certain people holding a small lamb like Marina Abramovich, but apparently you can find William with this lamb.
Interesting. I do read the comments. Somebody was saying that we needed to know that
I look like a
that when
handmaid's
he divorced Diana and married Camilla, he gave up his succession to the throne, and when he murdered her, he was able to come back into succession. There was a time, like when did he marry Camilla though? He
just
didn't marry
recently.
just recently. So I disagree with that. I'm just saying, like,
No, but that kind of could make
it was
sense
part
that
of it.
like he wasn't allowed to marry her and keep his title unless Diana, like he had to clean up all that mess first.
Then
Because
why not marry Camilla back then?
because he had to kill Diana first. So
Right, but
you
I'm saying
kill Diana.
died in what, 90?
I don't remember, 99.
99 was such a big year.
And she died. I know she died on the 31st because Selena died on the 31st as well. And I always think that's weird because both their names are moon goddesses.
August 31st, 1997. I'm just saying, like, if it was required that you murder
97.
your former wife in order to succeed to the throne and marry your lover of your lifetime, why wouldn't you marry Camilla immediately
Right
thereafter?
away. I feel like Camilla was married. And then there would have to be some time in between that. Then they let Prince William and Kate take a bunch of the paparazzi heat. They let Harry take a bunch of paparazzi heat because he comes out as a Nazi, as a, at a Halloween party, like all this stuff before Meghan. Harry was like running wild. And then it's time to like bring back in her into the fold. And it's not that big of a deal anymore because now we're comfortable with a black person in the monarchy.
She married Charles in 2005. She divorced her husband in 1995. She was born in 1947, for the record.
Of course.
Of course. I don't know. It's do I think this means anything in the long run?
You don't think nothing means
No.
nothing ever.
Do I wonder why they did it at this time and what I don't know that it's obviously everything is a distraction in my opinion. I don't know necessarily what it's distracting us from today, but I find that it will be a distraction for the next 30 to 60 days at least.
Well, nothing like the FBI thing is a big fat dud. Like it's almost like America needs to, whatever's happening over here of any of our little weird false flags or our little stabbings, nothing's taking the news cycle. It's like the UK's turn for 10 days.
True. I don't know. Why now? Why do we take her off ice now?
For the date of it all.
Right.
I like the
That's what,
9/9. Actually, if I was an evil, I would have felt like I kill her on 9/9 because of the GG in the mirror of it all. Like it's their Georgia Guidestones. It makes more sense to me for a 996 than a 98, which would be a 17. Way Hudson control.
Why that's in control. Okay.
If you're going to watch the water, though, like there's all these little cue statements, like the Holy See could be the water now. You could be watching the Catholic Church to see what they do after the 10 days of darkness.
Now, we have to make the connection to HV right now with like the line of purples and like purple being the monarchy.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about chocolate milk.
I mean, I can. Wasn't trying to out you, baby.
That's how we started the morning with you in a green shirt and me drinking chocolate milk. And you were like, you're so HB.
I put green on the timeline and you put chocolate milk in your coffee this morning and you said, I am on a new timeline now. So
I knew it when I got out of the shower last night.
Queen today.
I knew it was happening.
But I mean, we just have to make like the purple connection, okay, so let me theorize with you then.
And start from the beginning for people that don't know the purple connection with HV. Just the real quick purple philosophy of her, of they always use it to fakery.
Everyone. In the context of Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, violet. Indigo and violet being colors separate and apart.
Soulmates.
From purple. So if you take the color spectrum and you have red over here and you have violet over here, and you take those ends of the spectrum and you put them together as if they were in a loop, that's where purple is made. That's where part of pink and purple are made. So in the context of the line of purples, the color purple isn't really real.
It's where the like snake's mouth meets its tail.
It's the Ouroboros. Doesn't make sense. Exactly. Yeah. So theoretically, those colors do not appear naturally in the world. And that when we see those colors, they are like artificially created, if you will. So my question then goes, so our friend Human Vibration, find her at Human Vibration on Twitter. She talks about how John Benet Ramsey was the first use of CGI,
the Uncanny Valley
on a massive
she's
scale.
So good on
yes,
this.
So good on Uncanny Valleys. But she talks about the line of purples, and so when you see purple in the simulation, the matrix, reality, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's deceptive because it's not a real color. And she points like all sorts of things. Like when Obama was inaugurated, when Biden was inaugurated in 2021, everyone wore purple. Everyone was in shades of purple. It was incredible. My question to you, in the context of that purple discussion, the line of purples, purple being fake. Sometimes I wonder, okay, so when you saw all of those individuals wear purple at Biden's inauguration, did they do that intentionally in that they know about the line of purples? They know that purple is deceptive in nature and they're showing it to us, like almost in the revelation of the method. That's kind of like one school of thought I want to ask you about. And then the second is that like sometimes I wonder in like the Tyler of it all, in artificial intelligence and the simulation, that like, does the simulation compel them to select purple? Does Tyler compel them to select purple as
Like
a
purple is part
way?
of their spot on their.
No, to wear purple on days like that, to include purple, to do things in purple so that it shows us deception. So like that, like, are they intentionally showing us deception, or is the simulation
Letting us know, like, we have the eyes to see it now because it doesn't hurt us. Like, there's this
like,
thing
is
on
this how you're
Westworld.
trying to, is this a breadcrumb that you're trying to wake up?
Like on Westworld, they say the robots can't see what will hurt them. So they don't see anything outside the Westworld or anything outside the simulation that would be going on. But the more woke you become, do you start seeing the shades of purple? And do you start seeing them on the news and on your president and on the queen? And once you have the thought in your head that this purple's deceptive, now you start seeing it everywhere where the deception lies. But because when you were a slept little robot, you couldn't see what would hurt you, but now it won't hurt you anymore, the deception. So it's so easy. You always are like, this is so on the nose. This is so on the nose. But I really just think as a collective, we're all getting so woke. We speak their language. Like all the symbols, all the signs, all the colors, all the build back betters and lowercase b's. Like it's like we see through all their stuff now.
Okay, I love what Akashik said, that like it's a program. So yes, I agree. Like purple is a program in the sim. I guess I wonder, is it just coming from the sim itself, or is it coming from like, is this how they kind of like put it in our face in a way? But
like,
then
are they speaking to each other with this, or did Tyler or like a higher power put in their
compel
brain
it to be that way, right? But I also, obviously, yes, like the Republican and the Democrat of it all, the red and the blue, and they together make purple. Like, how perfect.
Yeah. And like boxing, everything's the red and the blue all the time. Those are the two colors that they always give us. Look at the flags.
Well, there's a little blue box and there's a little red box, and they've convinced the masses that you can only stuff yourself into one of those boxes, and if you step 1 inch out of it, that's what keeps the conflict going in that whole two-party system.
Chessboard. Just the two colors all the time. The big game, two colors. It's not just the black and the white. It's like this whole, because for the Royals, they have the blue and the white checkerboard. And then there's a whole red and white checkerboard. So it's like now the colors of the checkerboard, it's bigger than just the mason, the two shades of the black and the white. There's all these other things that kind of need to be looked up, but it's all kind of game theory. It's all for a LARP.
Okay, so somebody asked, Miss CC Writer Production said, did y'all know God, I cannot fucking talk tonight. Did y'all know Russia broke the Antarctic Treaty? Did you know that? I want to segue this into an octopus discussion here in a second.
Do it. No, I didn't.
I didn't know that either. But I wanted to ask, I've been meaning to do a post, and I wanted to do like a comparison with organism 46B and then compare it to the octopus in the OA that's like touches her and becomes I don't know, they can talk to each other in that way.
Contact. What? Isn't it Arrival, the big black octopus that come down and
right,
talk to her in the circular language?
So there is a conspiracy theory that goes that there was a team of Russian scientists that were sent to Antarctica to do research, and that they drilled 2 miles down into ice and that they hit water, and there was a lake there. And they were able to transport a team down into this lake. And when they got there, they encountered an octopus that they named Organism 46B. And that this octopus,
Not 47.
I know, naturally, that this octopus was a shapeshifter. And so that they originally did not realize what was going on as members of the team. I think it was maybe like a 20-person team or something was down there. And as like members of the team were disappearing, they realized that this octopus had shapeshifted into a member of their team. And then later shapeshifts out and all these people die. But the story goes that the Russians were able to capture it at some point and then transport it back to Russia. I don't know that this is connected whatsoever to the question that I received here about Russia breaking the Antarctic Treaty, but I just wanted to bring that up because of like this discussion we're having and animals being sentient. Did you watch My Octopus Teacher on Netflix?
I didn't. I thought it was propaganda to get us to follow octopus teachers that I think are the alien shape. Like the big octopus and the shape of the octopus is like their evil they. The eight.
It's like the big-headed alien, you know?
Mhm. There's something about it. And so when anything on Netflix to me is the highest amount of propaganda. There isn't anything on there. It's like the easiest way for you to propagate yourself because you're actually picking your own programming. So everything on Netflix, especially the feel good stuff that you think you're 5D next level, then like My Octopus Teacher, are the stuff where you sit back and relax and you're like, oh, this feels so good. And you put it all in your brain and you're like, oh my gosh, this octopus is so amazing. There's something weird with it to me, but I know the whole concept, but I haven't seen it.
I watched it, and what I took away from it is that octopi, octopuses, are much more intelligent. Or I mean, they're essentially they're sentient. They're so intelligent, and I, in the loosh of it all, and like the way that like if you really read into like the Robert Malone like stuff on archons and loosh and this being like a slave planet, I don't. And this is where I get on like a weird line of like, if I wonder if I'll ever become vegetarian, but I know I really won't. I just, I think it's weird eating something that's that intelligent, like near my
Pig.
intelligence. And that like what kind of loosh I'm consuming when I do that. So I don't know. I guess that maybe they don't want us to eat the aliens anymore. Maybe we should be eating them, and like this is whole psyop to like
Or
convince
maybe
people
it's
not to eat
just
them.
a way to get us emotionally to attach to all these things and realize they're sentient. So that way, when they tell us they're eating babies, we're like, we
Okay,
eat
makes
sentient
sense.
too. We eat octopus.
Maybe this is how they convince us to eat more bugs too, you know? Don't eat the sentient beings. Don't eat the cow. Don't eat the
Pig.
octopus. I don't know. I talk about not eating cows sometimes just because of their intelligence, and they're essentially big dogs, and when you watch videos of like how happy they can be, it just tugs at your heartstrings. But do you think that I don't know. I
Because
wonder
people
if we
say the
should
same thing about mushrooms.
I wonder if we should really be eating pigs. They don't sweat. They don't release any
What's the
toxins.
word I never can say? Chimera,
Chimera.
chimera. Pigs are just humans. Pigs
Tell
are
people about
human.
that.
I have this theory that every continent has a failed chimera on its planet with the humans that walk around there. So in like America, a failed human evolution would be a pig. Like if the ancient
Well, isn't
aliens
like
have
the humans and rats were became the pig?
well, if ancient alien, the idea of Xerxes, is that his name from 300? This
Xerxes.
idea of like god kings, where they actually manipulated human DNA the same way they're doing right now. Some humans didn't make the cut, and so I just think pigs would be a failed version of that, and they're too close to us. Another failed version in Australia would be a kangaroo. I think goats are weirdly similar to people. Their eyeballs are weird and things like that. I think dolphins are too close to humans. Like there's just
You just think like humans have been fucking a bunch of animals over the centuries?
No, I think scientists have just been
You think it's like
splicing our
splicing
DNA. Yeah, forever. Like we are just the best they've done. Like genetic alien manipulation. We're the best they've done with that
Yeah. So
for working. But look at if you were trying, if you we were just sitting here and we're like, hey, you know what? We need to make a being just to work. You might be like, let's give it a horse body and a human man torso. And I'd be
arms.
yeah, and I'd be like,
Let's give it a horse body and opposable thumbs.
yeah, and
Fucking
we'd be
yay.
like, oh, that's too much. It's too smart. How about we'll give it a bullhead and a man body? And then we're like, okay, well, this is too mean. Let's just lock that in the labyrinth because that one was crazy. Like we just mess around. We'd make a big man with crab arms. And then we might, in the great reset of the Tartarian of it all, we might take all the things that we made as God Kings and we might tour the United States and Europe and call it a circus and make you go to look at freak shows. Because look at all the things they put in that circus now. They're like the world's fattest woman with a beard. And it's like, what? That girl,
Like,
you could just see
she
her
just
in
had
a regular
fucking
Portland
PCOS
store.
and didn't have a razor. Okay.
She just looks like she's from Portland. Like she's not even transitioning. She just works at the grocery store with a beard.
Homegirl didn't have access to a mirror and a razor. Okay. And it's hard for her to lose weight.
You're like
Get
a bearded lady.
Like I could be the fucking bearded lady. Okay.
That's what always is so
Got
surprising.
My upper lip lasered yesterday.
Like the amount of femme girls I know that are so hairy.
I'm a fucking. It's the Italian.
It's the pinch hand Italian.
I want to walk in to my laser girl and just be like, take everything from like the eyelashes down, please.
You're like, I have $10,000. Laser me. You come out with lizard skin.
Yeah. I'd be happy with it though.
Yeah, you're like, in a couple of weeks, this is going to be the bomb.
All right. That's all I got on the queen. Do we have any questions from the class? What else can we talk about?
I know. I'm trying to go through because I just screenshotted today like I was clearing out Trump's house of FBI stuff. Just screenshotting. I thought it was crazy that Queen Elizabeth, 4 years before her coronation, she was led to an archdruid by Archdruid Williams for her initiation into the mystic circle of bards in Wales on August 6, 1946. And you can watch this video of her that looks like such a druidic ceremony where she's in all white and she's walking in a circle with like thousands of ladies watching. I thought that was really a crazy, not a surprise though, because it's like all their symbolism. 9-9. Okay, here's the other one. The queen is officially dead. This is 9-9, full moon day of Saturn, sacrifice to harvest energy for Armageddon timeline. Celebrities are canceling their upcoming sold out tours. Justin Bieber in The Weeknd. The Weeknd's concert was a Saturn satanic ritual featuring a giant full moon. The CEO of Bed Bath & Beyond jumped out of a window. Major corporations are crumbling. 9/11 is this weekend, which is code for Armageddon 3 software, aka Revelations. In Revelations 9/11, Abaddon is described as the destroyer and linked to the Yahweh matrix, which again goes back to the Saturn, the beginning of the Armageddon software. And if you seriously attribute this to the white hats, these are people that roll at the white hats. They're like, we've been at work in this in the astral for months. And I'm like, months? We killed the queen a year ago. Months? You've been at work in the astral for months? What did you do? You have double vaxxed and then you got to work in the astral? You're late to the party.
Okay, I gotta tell you in something I just literally got tagged in. There's an account on Twitter that posted on February 4th, 2022, quote, Queen Elizabeth II will die on September 8th, 2022. This account only has 19 tweets. I'm going to read the account name so you can look at it.
And I'll tell you one more. My own Delta from September 8th, 2021, is somebody on Twitter tweeted out, "White hats are in control. We are the plan. Where we go, when we go, all Q plus plus plus." In just a few hours, everything changes. Get some rest. They won't rest well after tomorrow. Get ready soon. London Bridge is fallen. Princess Diana, Godspeed. And it's the
That's a Q
exact
post from
day.
what day?
No, it's my Delta that I took off Twitter this day last year. Like
Oh,
I took
fuck.
somebody posting that. And so then it's like, whoa. And the queen died a year later. This is why I think everybody needs their own deltas. This is your phone. You know, if you're screenshotting shit, sometimes you're screenshotting stuff and your brain's not even paying attention. So if you go to the top of your phone, and you put 99, your phone's going to pull up every picture you ever took. I think you're going to be real surprised at your own loops and what you're leaving for yourself as breadcrumbs. Me and you talk about it all the time.
I don't
but
know if you said this enough. So I want to say, like, go to your search bar on your photos every day and search the date. This is what Cheney and I do every day. And we go back and we look at like what we were doing a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, our own personal deltas.
And it's a good way if you're trying to organize your photos anyway, just to take that date's photo and put them all in files. Maybe you have them in adrenochrome or Hillary or Bill or whatever weird files you have going on in your phone. But you know this. If you're watching this, you know they're deleting the internet of info every day. So the only place we have all the stuff, like if you even think to 2 years ago, you can't find posts, but some digital little soldier has that shit in their phone still. And so it's important sometimes that we regurgitate this stuff out, even if it's just a few hashtags so you can find it later.
Somebody's saying that 9/11 was Christ's real birthday, and they use it as a day of sorrow instead of celebration. That would be
I've heard that too.
So here's this account that I'm telling you guys about if you want to check it out real quick. It's at on Twitter, Aid, AIDEME. Oh shit, I fucked this up already. Okay. Aid, AID.
Can you leave the link in the chat?
Aid, EMLE oxide, OXIDE. It's like Aid Emily oxide. Anyways, they predicted 7 months ago that the queen was going to die on this date, and they only have 19 tweets. I just followed them and turned on my my follow notifications. Okay, any last questions from the class before we round out our
Do we get our presidential alert anytime soon? What do you think?
Biden?
Yeah, from anyone. Do we get a presidential alert? That's still something. If we get our 10 days of darkness, the presidential alert's supposed to come out right before it, right? Or 10 days of darkness happens and we get 3 presidential alerts before the power comes back on. There was 3 trumpets in it.
Oh, really? I don't know. Do you think they're going to take Biden out before 2024?
If I'm just in my marketing brain, he is dead weight for us. He isn't getting anyone elected into office, especially these governors that he's going to all these states. He's been in Pennsylvania for however. To me, this gubernatorial election happening in November is probably the most important election, to happen in our country's history, depending on where you're at, the mayors for like elections and everything going forward. So I think he's such dead weight. They could use the sympathy vote from killing him.
I agree.
Are we allowed to just talk about this on like killing a president?
I'm already on a watch list. It's fine. I've heard a theory that goes, okay, there's a distinction between the 25th Amendment and an impeachment process. In the context of an impeachment, the vice president becomes the president, the speaker of the house becomes the vice president. In the context of the 25th Amendment, that's not exactly how it works. So the president would be removed, the vice president would ascend to the throne, but the Senate would vote on the vice president. Theoretically, depending on the makeup of your Senate, you could have one party is the president, one party is the vice president, which obviously wouldn't be ideal. So the theory went along that they weren't going to do this before the midterms. In the hypothetical in which maybe some Dems go one way or the other, some of the independents, and we have some sort of like 50-50 situation, normally the president of the Senate would tie or break that vote, which would be Kamala, but she can't vote for her own vice president. So they would be this like stalemate. They didn't want to risk that. They'll wait till after the midterms when they, in their own minds, theoretically are picking up more seats in the Senate. Then they'll kick out Biden 25th Amendment. Kamala will go up. And then, I mean, it could still be Nancy that becomes the vice president. I don't think it would be, but I just wanted to make that distinction. And in the context of like political strategy, that could be a reason why it hasn't happened yet.
Kamala, Camilla. It's weird, those two names. Like,
Oh,
right.
that is interesting.
And it's somebody in the chat said, that like the theory of the moon is just reharvesting our energy and we're not supposed to go back into the light after we die. I do think it's an interesting correlation that you have Diana, who is the moon goddess sacrificed, and then and like things that you're saying of maybe regurgitating consciousness, like somewhere the moon might have something to play in that. And then you also have, we haven't had a launch of NASA in how long, but NASA's about to shoot off the biggest rocket they've ever shot off ever, and it's about to go around the moon twice. So you got that shape of the moon, that metaverse shape around the moon twice.
It's an infinity.
Yeah, the infinity sign. And also they are like, oh, we can't shoot off this rocket because of weather, but on both sides of this rocket, Elon Musk has shot off rockets off the same launch pad. So we know date specific for NASA. It doesn't matter about the weather. This is a very date specific thing. So in a regurgitation, if the moon was involved in this whole thing, which so many ancient cultures can remember when the moon was brought there, there's so many artificial things of things about the moon that you can look into conspiratorially without even touching NASA. So the idea that they're doing this, and then you take your idea of regurgitating the consciousness, maybe they have to circle the moon to do this, because I feel like maybe the last time they did the moon thing was 1974.
Maybe they're making night blood. Have you gotten that far in the 100 yet?
Yes.
Maybe they're making, they can only make night blood in space.
And if you want a night blood too, weird. A lot of people with the vaccine, when they were saying it sludges up your blood, it does something weird to your blood. When people were first pulling out that stuff, it reminded me of night blood.
That's interesting. Because it looks like if you had Elon Musk's Neuralink, or did you see in the 100 where they pull out their version of the stacked consciousness?
Yes.
And it has all these long electrical tendrils,
almost like an octopus,
almost like a fucking octopus. Fuck.
Dude, how perfect. Like a small octopus to go in you, that its tentacles spread out, but you have to invite it in like a vampire, which would be a vaccine. Like you would have to invite this tiny little vampire into your home, which is your body. They tell you it's your temple. So you're inviting the vampire into your temple, and then it slowly takes over you like an octopus. And then, like you're saying, let's say they've been doing these rituals for however long of elite bloodline. What if now they have like an army of evil? They've just been waiting to implant in. That's how you get like in a zombie apocalypse that we've never even thought about, the scale of it being a spiritual war, where we actually have hollowed out shells of humans.
Think if you, okay, in all these TV shows that we watch and these like quote unquote soft disclosure, they're only able to take the consciousness and replicate it into one individual's brain. What if they could copy and paste that shit? What if you had fucking 3,000 queens out there ready to just like burn the world down with like, you know, the highest testosterone possible at the same time?
Some people think that the night that Gabriel visited Virgin Mary, there was other angels that visited other women. Like she wasn't the only woman that was impregnated that night. And some people think that Mary Magdalene's mother was actually visited. She wasn't Jesus's lover. They were kind of like a different kind of sibling. Like God was both their dads. But
they're kinfolk.
Yeah, there is schools that Jesus was not the only bloodline of Christ. So, or Jesus wasn't the only bloodline of God. Like maybe other angels came down at the same date, the same time. And so Mary, when she goes to the school of Isis to study, and he goes to Far East and to Tibet to study, and they come back, she is from a royal bloodline of Israel, and her parents, like, because she wasn't a male, so her parents actually fund them to do their pilgrimage. And tell people like, here's all the stuff, here's all the magic, it's
All the
all about
knowledge.
you, here's all the
Right.
knowledge. So they were just like little, like, because Jesus wasn't a Christian. He was just telling people the what's up. He was,
He
so.
sounds like he was practicing magic sometimes too.
Oh yeah.
I don't necessarily like, I know
And Mary definitely was. She brought bodies back from the dead.
Right.
Mary and Mary.
Mary
And
and Mary and
there's
Mary.
even a thing that there's a quote that Jesus says to his mother, bend down, like something along the lines of bend down and kiss my follower and my child. And some people say that's Mary was pregnant with child at the time of Jesus's death. There's so many. So the idea of all this background, because it is Virgin Mary's birthday, is the day that the queen dies, is so crazy to me.
I mean, think about that. I mean, that could be Mary consciousness.
Well, if you were to watch the water, Mary, Mer is the sea. So La Mer, and it's Mars, Mario, Maria, all sea. So Mary, Y, would just be the sea. So watching the water would just be watching the Mary. And here we are at this date.
Here we are at this date.
Mara, or Terra
Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago, Terra Mar. Like a lot of their symbology is the Mar. And they want to, where does Elon want to go the most? Mars. So if like your thing, space is just the ocean. Well, doesn't that make sense? Mars is just saying seas. So where does Elon want to go? To the sea?
That's something we got to talk about the next time we get together. Also happening simultaneously in this last episode of the 100 is there are these natural keys, these huge spheres that exist on all of these different planets in this world naturally, and when you touch the key in a certain way, it's basically a jump room. And so I have talked recently about like Obama's connection through Donald Marshall and others, talking about like the Mars jump rooms and how they were all a part of that program. And so if space is an ocean, if space is like fake and gay in the sense of like the way it's always been proffered to us by NASA, and perhaps like kind of port keys in like a Harry Potter way, or jumping is real, that like they would put this thing in, and then in the room they would jump to another place. And so I would love to talk about like the Mars jump rooms with you sometime.
Yeah, I'm into it. And the moon and it's too much.
We could talk about ice ball theory.
Yeah, puddle theory. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be coming out a lot more, that the extraterrestrial, the land farther from the land we know.
Yeah, we should do a Project Pegasus, Operation Pegasus.
And it has nothing to do with Prince William.
No.
Pegasus.
Nothing to do about getting pegged or pegging.
Yeah. So I think that's The Queen is Dead. I think that's one for the books. And we're going to have 10 days of a weird ritual spell that we're all going to get to be privy to.
What are they doing? What is involved? Operation London Bridge. We should do the gematria.
Even the loosh that you say. The same way as Betty White. If we didn't kill Betty White and make a mockery of it and laugh about it for so many months, by the time Betty White actually died, people laughed and smiled. That was not the reaction they were expecting from killing her right before her 100th birthday. I feel like the exact same thing for the Queen. This isn't a loosh. I heard CNN right out in front of Buckingham Palace, where all the like flowers and stuff were being laid, and people were cheering. Like, people aren't sad the Queen's dead.
There was an interview that I saw, and some guy was asking, he was like, how do you feel? What does it mean? Blah, 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 blah. And she was like, I don't really particularly feel any way for it, because I don't respect the Queen's policies throughout my lifetime. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like waiting, like, adrenochrome. And she was like, no, colonialism and her treatment of like Prince Andrew and all the things he's done. And I was just like, okay, snaps a little bit. I wanted to say before we wrapped up, remember the Hollywood Unlocked of it all?
Tell me.
So Hollywood Unlocked is a company, a media company. I follow them on Instagram on my personal account, and they post like Hollywood gossip, breaking news, and stuff like that. They don't get like too deep. It's very like pop culture esque type stuff. But I'm trying to go back to my archive right now.
Somebody said that their husband's job sent out, and the employer sent out a company-wide email that if anyone needs like to talk to or counseling about the Queen's death.
Wild. Okay.
What world are we in? Everybody's so broken that I might not be able to work today because I already said I had COVID last week and took a week off. So this week I can't work because the Queen died. Are we the softest? What happened to us?
Okay, this is where I got a little witchy. I made a prediction that I made a post, and in my prediction I said, I think she has been on ice for a minute, a la Ginsburg. God, I say the same things all the fucking time. Just waiting for the right moment. I predict February 22nd, 2022. So when February 22nd came along, Hollywood Unlocked did this post, and it says exclusive, Queen Elizabeth is dead. Sources close to the royal kingdom, I don't even feel like that sounds right. The royal kingdom notified us exclusively that Queen Elizabeth has passed away. She was scheduled to attend the wedding of British Vogue editor, but was found dead. And so I posted that, and it was this whole thing. The owner of Hollywood Unlocked was blasted for it, but he doubled down on his position then. And he was like, I don't care what y'all are saying about me. I have an inside source. She's fucking dead. Now, my question is, after we just talked about that weird Twitter account, did that happen on February 22nd? Because that would be some weird shit.
I remember when you posted that and took it down, and we knew the Queen was dead then.
And I was like, I was like, you guys, she's already dead. Come on.
But we were just like, yay, we're just waiting for some confirmation so we can kind of know the dates of their ritual. We know it's going to be a ritual.
Always.
10 days.
Always. I need to go to Hollywood Unlocked and see what that guy, if they've posted about it today. Anyways, what do you think? So if you listen to the podcast normally, at this point of the podcast, I would normally say you're an elite member of the class. And because you have reached this point, Cheney's going to pick an emoji. And if you would so kindly, once you listen to this podcast, like put that emoji out somewhere, like either comment it, send it to us in a tweet, send it to us in a story. The people in the YouTube are like super, super elite members. I wish I could like do a distinction. Ooh, I'm going to type one to them that I'm not going to say out loud, but you need to pick the one for the main podcast.
Okay.
People.
The main podcast people, the full moon. It's a full moon coming the Saturday on the 9/11 of it all. We're building up in the progression of this whole thing. Give us the real full moon, not the slice full moon, not the Cheshire Cat smile. You can
I like I like the blue one. That's the Cheshire Cat smile. It looks to the side.
That's for a different time. It's the full moon this time.
Full moon.
For Princess Diana, Lady Diana, the goddess Diana, we will full moon.
All right. What am I going to tell my people in the chat? I got to look at this real quick. Can you tell everyone where to find you, my love?
You guys can find me at projectcheney.com and Project Cheney everywhere you get your podcasts, maybe even on YouTube. Subscribe, because I will be putting out video for season 2. And if you want to find my shit posting, you can find me at Cheney_in_Wonderland. You have to type in the whole thing because I'm the second most shadow banned person on the internet. And if you want my glittery red pills, you can go to True Social and follow me at Just Cheney, CHANEY. And I'm not always glittery red pilled. I have a lot of common sense about me, but sometimes I like to think that Michael Jackson is cute, and that's the world I want to live in.
Michael Jackson is cute. That means Kathy Hilton's a good guy, right?
I'm kind of loving Big Kathy calling Lizzo precious. Little Kathy.
Now, Cheney and I eventually are going to do a new podcast heavily on the video and do it every week and talk about everything. But we have these themed episodes we want to do about Bravo, y'all, and they will be so fucking good. Really, all roads lead back to Bravo
Mhm.
in a way.
We're going to pop culture. We're going to news from the weird. We're going to TikTok together. And yeah, I think it's going to be so fun. And we're going to have a call in, like advice and weird stories. And you can tell us your ghost stories or something. And then we'll tell you what we would
Tell
have
us
done.
bad dating stories. You can tell us bad marriage stories. You can tell us
Weird
best
sex
friend
stuff.
stories.
We're into it.
We're into literally like any subject on the timeline. One of your dogs is not happy.
They're losing their mind right now. My queen is losing her mind right now.
Well, everyone, this is my Maria 777. Peyton just walked up to me like, bitch, it's time. You can find me on Instagram at my Maria 777. Same for Twitter, except on Instagram, I'm shadow banned like a motherfucker. So look at my backup account called the Oracle 333. She's a little
Or
sassier.
My Maria
what?
4777.
Oh yeah, I have a third backup. I don't really do anything on that one. It's my Maria 4777. But find me shit posting every day at the Oracle 333. Go to my website, mymaria777.com. Sign up for my email list in case we ever get disconnected. This is also, I guess, going to be a video on YouTube. So if you watched us here, we're so sorry about the fucking quality. My main computer is at the repair shop because I
thought
broke
it's
the
fine.
screen. I know, but I got to do the lighting. I got to go steal some lighting from my business. It's shiny. It fades in and out.
We're going to have fun background. We're going to share screen.
We're going to be professional.
It's going to be so professional. It's
We've probably gone through at least 47 different podcast names.
Mm-hmm.
So if like something fun and flirty and like rolls off the tongue, just like happens to enter your brain, please let me know.
You guys, we've gone with, these are some of the ideas. The worst one was the pig pen. In between, we liked Pinky Swear for a while.
Pinky Swear, yeah. I still like Lunatic Fringe.
You love Lunatic Fringe. You love that, but like at the beginning.
Yeah.
Before we ever talked about doing a podcast.
Yeah. What else did we do?
There's just
there were more.
Yeah, so many stupid ones because some of them we thought were so clever, and then we were like, "Oh, there's 10 podcasts. Name this."
Yeah.
So
side
we'll
chicks.
Figure it out.
I don't want to be a side chick forever.
Don't call her a side chick. Call me Dance Moms. It's nicer than calling my Maria a side chick.
Oh man, my love life. Shoo. I say that a lot by myself. If you knew me, I like to pretend I'm a. Can I say that?
I don't know. I think we've done so good by
I don't want to get canceled.
Yeah, let's just wait.
Shoo. Oh, Pinky and the Brain. I'll be Pinky. You could be the Brain.
Oh, that's so sweet.
There'd obviously be some copyright issues with that.
Yeah. Blondie and Harry.
Oh, Room 47.
That was one of them. Room 47.
I swear there were so many more. But anyways, if you think of anything good, let us know. We're just sitting here fucking trying to think out loud.
That's it. That's all we're waiting on is the perfect name. And then we're kind of ready. At least and
then we need like some motivation.
Yeah.
We just need to like integrate some sort of recording device into our phones because our phone calls are the best podcast.
Sometimes we have to get off the phone if we plan on recording.
Like today.
Like sometimes the convo gets so good where like, just hang up right now. Just hang up. Maria will be like, oh my God, I just have to tell you one thing. Save it for the show. And then sometimes we'll get off air right now. And then I'll call her while she's walking pee and we'll say the 3 things we forgot to mention that we talked about. That
would have made it like the best fucking podcast ever.
That we were like, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't say that. We've been talking about it all day.
Yeah. Project 47, Operation 47, Ariel likes room 47. Somebody said, Ariel said Project 47 is genius.
Not anti it. And I will say too, for not being live on YouTube all that frequently, you had a really great active chat tonight.
And I have over 1,000 followers.
Ding, ding, ding. I knew it would be this episode. Just had to
it was
cleverly.
before it started.
Oh, nice. You just told them you were coming and it just.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Not me
Kevin
though.
Costner. Are you my soulmate? Are you my soulmate?
You guys, I love to say, like, are you my mother from Cat in the Hat, Dr. Seuss?
Dr. Seuss.
Every time I go out and see a man, are you my soulmate? Are you my soulmate? Are you my soulmate?
It's going to be so good with the new show, though, and a call-in show. We can really do a dating game.
Yeah.
And we're totally going to have Alex in, because if any dude can make it past me and Alex to date you, they got to be like a gold star. Here's
the thing, though, that I want to say about the dudes that do slide into my DMs. All of you have private profiles. I have no idea what you look like. And you're just like, hey, you want to go on a date with me?
Woo her.
Woo me. Send me a picture. Send me a video. I don't know.
Send her a cool idea. Send her a cool dig on Antarctica or time travel. Like, some of the ways too, some of them try to get to you are like, just so you know, I'm a guru. I know everything about your life. I'm 5D and deeper than you can imagine. And it's like, tell me a good joke, you know? Yeah, it's like some of the people take themselves far too seriously on the internet these days. Everybody, if they're not trying to be in a cult, they're trying to lead one. And I'm like, get out of my DMs. I don't want to be involved. But that's what I feel like a lot of dudes that hit you up are like super pretentious. Like, I think you need to meditate and masturbate on Tuesdays. And you're like, get out of my DMs. No one would even be that clever. That would have been a clever DM.
I think one of the problems is, and it's not really a problem per se, but people know me so well, or they think that they know me so well, that they talk to me as if I know them as well as they know me. So just be like, I'm like, I don't know anything about you. I don't know how old you are. I don't know if you have kids. I don't know you don't have to tell me your sign or where you're born. It's just like, hey, if I'm in Nashville, do you want to go on a date? Just like, come on, people, give me a little something.
Woo her.
I got nothing going on.
Be charming.
Charming. Oh yeah. You know what we should talk about? No, we can do that on the next podcast.
What?
Never mind. Tuesday gifts.
Charm. Are you gonna vampire charm people?
Am I gonna glamour you?
Glamour. That's what it's called.
Oh, glamour. I think I'm pretty good at that. And I don't mean that I'm like trying to manipulate someone. I just think I can be charming when I want to be.
I can glamour. Mm-hmm. I can be charming because I
wasn't going to admit that I could, but I guess I can.
I can glamour for sure, but my charm and my glamour are two totally separate things. I wear fake glasses just so I don't glamour people on accident.
Put them on.
Do I have them right by me?
You just had them. You took them off.
Yeah, I do. I have to look around. I'm like,
you don't need them. I thought you were like, let me look for.
I can't find my glasses because I don't have my glasses. That's my Jerry Seinfeld impression. Is it salsa? Is it salsa?
I'm trying to see if anyone said anything else. Are you my daddy?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Your mommy daddy.
My daddy?
That's what we think the best podcast name is. Call Her Daddy. We think that's the best. It is.
It's so catchy. It can go on merch. It translates to both genders. It's tongue in cheek. You don't know exactly what it means.
And I would like it. And LL would like it. See, I knew we should have just got off.
All right, guys. Listen, like, subscribe. I love you. Goodbye.
That's it. That's how you're leaving it now. I love you. Goodbye. I made you sweat.
I love
At least
you.
it was just a nickname.
I know it's a nickname, but don't tell everyone.
You know what's even so
the
fucking
love
crazy?
names you have for me.
When I MM you sometimes, like the amount of names I have to go through my head to get to a nickname of your persona. And then another funny thing today is I sent you there was like a tweet that someone put out that said, "What if," I have to read it to you now because I just thought
I
it's
literally
so
have my cursor on in meeting for all. But go ahead, please.
What was it? If somebody in your real life, imagine having sex with someone and they moan out your niche internet micro celebrity Instagram handle instead of your real name.
You guys, when I met Sam Tripoli, he just looked at me and he goes, "I'm not gonna call you my Maria."
He was so uncomfortable.
I was like, okay, I'm not asking you to call me my Maria. I was like, you could just call me Maria. And then we got on stage and he did his act. He called me my Maria.
And
So we were just wondering, like, what if I met someone and started dating them and they were coming and they could go,
they were like, "My Maria 777."
don't put the numbers on it. It would just be my Maria.
See, because the numbers make it even that much more ridiculous. But you know how many people we know with fake handles, and think of all their fake handles, like it just being like the normal thing that you take naps. Oh, take naps.
Oh, Project Janie.
Red pill, babe.
All right, we need to get the fuck out of here.
Okay, that's it.
Love you guys. Listen, like, subscribe, leave us a comment, and if you get any good podcast names, send them our way.